RotoGrinders, Dean here. It's Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical right now, it's a start of 2+ hours of nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation, taking y'all straight up to lock. First pitch going down, I believe 7:05 on the East Coast. Big boy slate, not messing around. I think it's a 12-gamer, 24 teams playing baseball tonight, one of which the Atlanta Braves are in Coors Field, the greatest offense and the greatest field against the worst pitching collection of arms, basically, arguably, debatably, on this slate. Joined today by one of the greatest DFS players in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. It's TJ. It's TJ's words. You know, TJ's here. That means Spidey's not too far behind. And Spidey, you know, he got his homer last night. Some would say it was kind of chalky. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't dare, put it in the board. I wouldn't dare besmirch. Spidey likes what he likes. What's up, TJ? Welcome to the show. Happy Tuesday.
Doing well. Ready to do my very best to try and match. Hey, guys, none of that in here. We're doing a show. Come on. Sonic knows better than that. Look at these two.
You live in a society, Sonic.
These two think they can just talk smack at each other right now as if I'm not in the middle of a show. Yeah, you put your head down. Good boy. All right. Hopefully going to do my best to match Dean's dongs, you know. Some would say that since Julio Rodriguez was plus 420 and Royce Lewis was plus 430, that they were basically equally chalky of
who would say that though? I mean, clearly Julio Rodriguez and I mean, stop it.
If that's not true, then I guess I would argue that Spidey is just better at finding really great odds if that was such an easy pick. But no, I'm excited to dive into GrindersLive. Very busy day for me today. I had some meetings and stuff this morning, and then after the show, I have a season-long football draft followed by a show that is the show I'm most excited for maybe ever. And on Disney Plus, they're finally not doing the middle of the night releases anymore. They're doing the 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern releases so everybody can watch them together. And so got an exciting day of TV ahead of me and got a season-long draft. So I'm only playing one lineup today, and then I got some home run bets in as well.
Is that your season long amongst like your group of high school friends or whatever that's been going on for like 20 years? Not 20 years. I'm doing that. I'm rounding up for some reason.
Yeah, that's probably honestly not that too far off. I bet you I started playing fantasy football pretty close to age 10. But this is actually a year one league, and it's a bunch of people that I've met through Agents of Fandom in like the TV and movie industry.
You're gonna wreck them, aren't you?
I better. There's a lot of pressure on me because, like, in theory, I should be by far the best in this league. I think there's one person in it though who actually does work for Action Network. He's a graphic designer for Action Network, so he should know what he's doing a little bit. But other than that, I better dominate.
I'm not sure if you're playing on ESPN or on Yahoo or Sleeper or whatever, or if you have some secret like Canadian site you jump on, but some of the presets are really, really goofy. If you've gone through that, there's some players that are so far off, and I'm gonna be playing with my friends. It's gonna be, it's not gonna be fair. But what are you gonna do? You're gonna tank it? You can't tank it. Like you can't win. If you beat them, you're supposed to beat them. If you don't beat them, it's like I thought you were a pro. What's that?
Yeah, I'm gonna take their money and then thank them for it.
There you go. Gonna bring in Keith as well. Keith, are you dabble in the season long still with a group of friends? Is that long gone? Do we care about the season long football world?
Very rarely. I do have two leagues. One dynasty league that I started up with Britt, so that's a fun one. Like the year-to-year continuation. It's better than redraft in my opinion. But
so the league that Britt is like tweeting about all the time, they're like begging for one more person to join. You're a part of it. He roped you in?
Well, Britt's in like 100 of those. So okay. Yeah, like I'm in one of his 100.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Who's your keeper? You got a keeper that you're excited about?
Boy, I don't even know. We just did our.
That means you're not excited about it. You don't know who it is.
It's like something I look at once a week. It's not a big part of my football.
Sure.
DFS. I definitely dabble in the DFS much more than the season long.
All right, here's a question for you, Keith. In my somewhat dynasty league, it's a keeper league, but it's IDP. You can keep up to 3 on offense and 3 on defense a year. I had to submit my keepers this morning, so it's a done deal. I can't go back. Keeping in mind that a few of the top high-end players aren't going to be on the board because they'll have been capped. How it works is you give up a draft pick 1 year ahead of, or 1 round ahead of what you picked them last year. So the two people I had locked into place where I was keeping Kamara in round 8. And I was because he's just been getting kept ever since he was drafted. Kamara in round 8. Cortland Sutton in round 16, I think. A real great one there. And then my final option was Ramondre Stevenson in round 3. And I think I had the 4th pick in round 3. Or Gerald Everett with a round 19 draft pick I'd have to give up. Would you go with the Stevenson in round 3, kind of assuming that that'd be a good spot for him because there'll be some of the stars already gone and being kept? Or would you just go, I want my early round picks and keep Everett with 19?
I have never dabbled in that type of format. It feels like the early round picks would be pretty valuable. And Zeke is there. You can't be excited about Ramondre Stevenson anymore. So
that's how I was doing too. I kept Gerald Everett because I thought a 19th round pick. I don't care if I don't have that. Everett would probably go in about 14. So it felt like a good keeper. Let's talk about some baseball.
I'm just insulted you didn't ask. Like, you directed that question only to Keith. It's like, okay.
What would you have done, Dean? I don't know. Keith was previously talking about his season-long strategy, so I was just like adding to it,
Your options kind of stink. I'll be honest. I mean, not to be a jerk, but your options aren't good. Keith was being polite, but like your options aren't great. I feel like you guys are better.
It's a very, very difficult league. Like it's 12 teams, but the rosters are just huge. And so, like, it's a very, very tight pickings.
Do you want to say what's up to the chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. We're here for the next hour and 5 minutes, give or take, till we yield to the Crunch Time crew. Crunch Time will be, we got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth back. We have Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood back from his vacation. Back-to-back live finals for DK and for Fanduel. And I believe I see him in chat right now. It's Kirkwood. Kirkwood upset we're talking season-long football. We'll talk to Slate in just a second. Kirkwood, hopefully you're feeling better, Kirkwood. Hope all is well. Joining the show as well, closing it out, taking you guys up to lock tonight. All right, so Keith, you're excited. I assume you're excited, but you're also not excited because everybody else is on to it. But you've been talking about Cole Reagans for a while now. Cole Reagans is one of the keys to unlocking the Braves tonight. It's super, super obvious. George Kirby seems like a really, really safe play as well against the putrid Oakland Athletics. Alex Cobb is really cheap on DK. Whatever's left of the Reds, we've taken him on there in San Fran. Great ballpark. I want the screenshot here, Keith, because, I don't know how you run away from the Braves. You can get different iterations, different combinations. Everybody can't be 40% in the Braves. They're super expensive. But it's also like, hey, if we want to unlock the Braves, it's pretty clear and obvious who helps you get there. Now, there's other options like Williamson, I suppose, on Cincinnati is somebody that can help you get there. If you want a little bit of a pivot. But, I want your assessment. I want your screenshot when it comes to tonight's slate.
The screenshot is you take the screenshot from yesterday's slate and slap it onto today, and it is the exact same thing. We had cheap pitching yesterday that helped make the Braves work. Kyle Harrison went out there and looked amazing, like one of the top pitching prospects in baseball that he is. And then Oviedo had a fantastic game. So double cheap pitcher was the key to the slate. And I feel very similarly on today's slate. There's quite a few options down here in the 6K range, definitely spearheaded by Cole Reagans. Guy has just been incredible since going over to Kansas City. Velocity's up about 1.5 miles. And he's added a slider that he's just absolutely dominating lefties with. Hopefully get a couple of lefties in that Pittsburgh lineup. Not sure if that dropped yet, but we are currently projecting 2. Reagans is like just way too cheap for his talent level and what he's shown since coming to Kansas City. But he's not the only option down there. Certainly some pivots. I've been avoiding the top range of pitcher, and I think that's the way to do it again today. I'm going to be spending up on bats as much as I can. That's kind of sort of where I'm at as well. And get excited, Keith, because how many lefties do you want in that lineup for Pittsburgh? You asked for 2. You're going to get 3. And one you're getting is Sawinski and his 48% strikeouts against lefties this season. Bay at the bottom of the lineup, no power, strikes out a lot too at 26%. And you're also getting Palacios at his 30% K rate. Kind of a small sample, but the back half of that Pittsburgh lineup, 27%. Did you put a prop in there, a prop bet for Reagan? So I'm curious where it's at. I imagine it's moved. It's been moving up as the day has progressed. I know he's been your guy for several starts. Yeah, he has. I did bet it personally. I did not write it up today. Charlie did write it up though, who he has just been absolutely crushing it over there at Scores and Odds. Shout out to Charlie. He is on it. He got it at plus money as I did early this morning. I think it's moved to like it's 6.5 is where it opened, which was I was hoping for 5.5, but I was going to be comfortable betting anything under 7, taking the over there. Guy's strikeout rate is over 30% since being in Kansas City. So 6.5 strikeouts for a guy with a 30% strikeout rate who is facing Pittsburgh. I'm all about that. So love Reagan's over 6.5.
Are you certain that's going to continue going forward? I'm not certain it's going to continue, but I still think it's going to be very good. He's probably overachieving a little bit, but against Pittsburgh, and it's like if it settles like 27%, it's still pretty good.
So his swinging strike rate fully supports what he is doing. Every underlying metric, there's a change in the pitch mix, there's an increase in velocity, and all the underlying data supports what he is doing. That's why I am a firm believer. When he first started doing this with Kansas City, it's like, okay, like this is a different Cole Reagans, but I wasn't really like, man, this guy's outstanding. He's really good. Does 30% continue? I don't know about that. Like, people are going to get a book on what he's doing, the new slider that he's added. And maybe it comes down a tick or two, but yeah, I think high 20s is realistic going forward. As far as what he has done so far, though, it's absolutely justified. 15.3% swinging strike rate with Kansas City. And that's only 6 starts. And like I said, obviously teams will get a better scouting report on him now. But I am fully buying into what Cole Reagans is doing.
TJ, you had something to say? I thought you were jumping in there for a second.
I got Reagans at 7 or more strikeouts at plus 200 today.
Wow, that's really good. I hope you max bet that.
I included it in a whole bunch of different parlays, and so my bets today are Reagan 7 or more strikeouts at plus 200, Cobb 6 or more at plus 215, J-Rod 2 or more bases plus 195. Acuna 1 or more steals.
We don't need likes for this. Just giving it away. I mean, not to cut you off, but
no, I'm not giving out my homer ones. I'm just giving out my strikeout and base ones right now. With Justin Steele 6 or more Ks, and then I added Tatis and Alvarez bases on that parlay too.
By the way, interesting you mentioned Steele. We always talk about the Wrigley win games, and generally speaking, we talk about it. We're saying it in a positive sense. You fire up the weather edge for Chicago, the Cubbies versus the Brewers. 49 games as far as the sample. 69 is the temperature. The wind's blowing in at 60 miles an hour, basically from dead center. The dew point is 63. Shout out Kirkwood. In that circumstance, 49 previous games, we've seen homers dip at a 29% rate, 26% rate, and runs dip at a 9% rate. I believe the total in that game is 6.5, which you don't see very often. And, you know, they're good pitchers. Steele's good. Burns good. A little bit uneven this year by his standards. But, yeah, 6.5 total in that game. Just sort of worth noting when it comes to the pitchers. As far as the popularity of the pitchers, the most popular guy as of right now, according to our ownership projections, we're looking at George Kirby at 39% against Oakland. The aforementioned Reagans is getting 35%. This is DK specific. Alex Cobb, and it's pretty condensed up top with Kirby and Reagans, and Cobb is third at 21% Steele, and that nice matchup there, at least from a ballpark perspective. And the Brewers are not scaring anybody at 15%. Barrios, TJ's hometown, Jose Barrios, 11%. Quintana at 9%. I don't really see that one. 8% for Heaney. Burns at 8%. Burns seems interesting for tournaments. Pablo Lopez, obviously really, really good. He's had some elite games this year, but he's pretty expensive. And, we do live in the world of salary cap, so that's why the expensive pitchers like Barnes over 10K, like Lopez over 10K in the single digits, just like Clayton Kershaw, who's at 7%. Also, he has some concerns when it comes to his pitch count. He had his start cut short last game. I think he only threw 2 innings and change, maybe just 2 innings. Kramer, another guy in the middle at 7%. But TJ, what is your assessment as far as this slate? You said you're making one lineup and one lineup only. So we're not playing the feud, unfortunately. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll ad lib. But how are we attacking tonight's slate? I assume, I'm going to guess you're going to have some Braves in that one lineup. You tell me.
Full Brave stack in that one lineup, yeah. I'm basically I said yesterday when I was hosting Crunch Time that if I would have played, I would have done a Harrison and Grayson Rodriguez as my 2 pitchers with a full 5-man Brave stack, and I got a little bit of FOMO when I saw that was basically optimal last night. And so I'm doing that exactly again today. I'm playing 2 very cheap pitchers, and I'm playing them with the Braves. Getting a little bit different with my secondary stack, getting a little bit different with my secondary pitcher. I saw Kirkdiese in chat really like the same pitcher that is currently in my lineup today. But I did also kind of whittle my pool down for if I was MMEing today, who would all be in it. And there are 10 guys that made the cut today. Let's see, did I count that right? Yeah, 10 guys who made the cut today. And I'm same page as Keith. We talked about this on the morning grind, like all about the cheap pitchers today.
So are we going to play the feud like as if like a hypothetical? Is that what you're suggesting?
If you want to, but we also don't have to. We can just do
it. We can do it. I mean, like there's some that are. I'm curious. You said so 10 out of 24.
I think we should rapid fire the feud. Like we maybe not go quite as slow with it, since I'm not actually rolling out that pool, but I do have the hypothetical pool ready.
Keith, did you is your pool settled as far as your pitchers, or it's kind of organic? It's you're not exactly sure where you're going, who's in, who's out of the pool just yet.
Yeah, mine's pretty settled. Always making changes, obviously. But yeah, I pretty much have a good idea of who I'm playing.
I'm curious. You're making 20 lineups that you typically do. Is that the plan tonight, basically?
Yep.
All right. Oh, is it the lock button city for for your boy, or not necessarily?
Indeed, it is. Yep. Cole Reagan's just. I think we're still ahead of the field a little bit. Like just your comment about are we fully buying into what he's doing? I am fully buying into it, so I might as well just be ahead of the field on that and just go ahead and click the lock button on Cole Reagan's.
And I'm assuming TJ, you would hypothetically have a bunch of him, and he's possibly in your one lineup.
Yeah, he's in my one lineup, and I would very much be considering the lock button with him as well. I would have bare minimum double the field, so like a 70% floor, but maybe getting up to that lock button as well.
Yeah, he's got if you look at the lineup HQ, he's got the rainbow as far as the tags, everybody's tagged him. For some reason, I don't know why the price hasn't adjusted. It's just goofy. I was speculating that maybe like DK and Fanduel, they're just thinking about football these days. I'm just kind of an autopilot this last month of the season or so, but it just seems strange that he's 6K on DK and Fanduel. I think he's 6'6" over there. I just made a couple lineups before the show, and both were with Reagan's on Fanduel. I'm afraid it's going to be super popular to some degree. What is he projected over on Fanduel? Yeah, 23%, the most popular pitcher over there, because you only roster one, and it really opens up the salary. And you got to start, just be aware. When you roster, everything else kind of falls into place. Everybody else is seeing that too. Go ahead.
You're gonna love this. The Angels place Lucas Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, Hunter Renfroe, and Randall Grichuk on waivers.
I just saw that.
Just the Angels should play the Padres, and the losers kicked out of the league for good. Like who says no? Who says no?
The Blue Jays to just go and grab Renfroe or Grichuk and Lucas Giolito right about now.
It's just an embarrassment of an organization. And I'm better than gloating. I've done it enough. I'll take my L's.
I've been on at least 2 shows with you, Dean, where you just went absolutely off on the Angels. And shout out to you. You were absolutely correct in this particular situation.
I was ahead of it though. I wasn't playing the results. It was first guessing, right? They say second guessing. I was first guessing there. Yeah, Angels versus the Padres with a gutless World Series. Casey's got it in chat. And like Ohtani's thrown his last pitch for the Angels ever, and he's probably never going to hit for them again. And whatever, let's not get derailed. TJ, that's how you get me going. You get me wound up. But
here's your question, Dean. Who is my most expensive pitcher in my hypothetical pool today?
Okay. That's a good question, because I was going to ask, like, you're probably not playing, and you're framing this. You're not going to be playing Pablo Lopez. You're not going to be. I guess you're not playing Barnes. Like, I feel like you should mix some.
If I'm running, this is if I was playing 150 lineups, what I'd be doing.
Let's see. Who would be your most expensive pitcher? Like, I think you're supposed to have some Steele, and you're supposed to have some Kirby too. So, like, unless you're just kind of framing it and trying to throw me off, this is like a red herring. And again, I'm not somebody that runs 150. It's not my world. It's probably a better question for Keith. But the way you're framing it, You're probably stopping at like Dean Kramer.
Dean Kramer is in the pool, but he is not the highest price in the pool.
I have a little insight from yesterday. We did the morning grind together, so I'm going to take a stab at this. I will go Charlie Morton.
Charlie Morton, ding, 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 is the answer. 8.5K. That'd be the most expensive I'd go today. I like Morton quite a bit for tournaments at very low ownership. I love Kramer as well, though, so that's not a bad call, Dean. There is one more in between the two of them that would be in the pool just because he's getting absolutely no ownership, and I think he could put up a good game too.
Morton opened with a 7.5K prop in Coors Field. We do not see that very often.
No. Is he in your pool, Keith?
He is.
Yeah, he's had some weird sort of like an up and down season. I guess kind of what you expect out of somebody who's 40 years old, right?
Yeah, he's done this the last couple of years. Like he'll have these stretches where it's like, okay, he's 40 years old and he's completely washed up. He's looking like Adam Wainwright for a couple of starts. And then he comes out and he strikes out double digits 2 times in a row. And it's like, oh, okay, maybe he's not dead. The biggest concern I have with Morton is he's a curveball pitcher. He relies on his curveball like 40+% of the time.
Yeah.
And going into Coors at altitude, like the curveball doesn't generally play up as well. If he was more reliant on like a slider or something, I would have a ton of Charlie Morton in this spot.
I wonder, did you bother pulling up what his like lifetime splits are in Coors? I'm curious what they are. But that's a good point. If your dominant pitch is the one that is negatively affected tremendously by the Coors elements, but like you said, we've seen ceiling games. His last 2 games, he struck out a combined 21 New Yorkers, like double digits in both games. I know both those teams are kind of gutless, right? But still. We've seen some real highs out of Morton this season, which is kind of sort of somewhat surprising. We know that Colorado lineup is going to be pretty inept. Is it officially released? It is. Blackman, Tovar, McMahon, Diaz, Jones, Goodman. Goodman got hiked up to 3K, and he's no longer catcher eligible. Nice punt last night. Castro, Taglia, and Doyle. By the way, the Braves are Acuna, Albies, Riley, Olsen, Ozuna, Rosario back in there versus the righty, Murphy, Arcia, and Harris to get to your wraparound, the reach around. Reds lineup is bad, by the way. Just spoiler alert: Friedel, Steer, De La Cruz, Martini, Stevenson, Encarnacion Strand, Benson, Marte, and Senzel. I guess we'll talk about Cobb in a second, but TJ, feel really confident that Cobb is in your pool.
Yeah, 100%. Cobb would be in the pool. He'd probably be my second highest owned pitcher today behind Reagan's. He's not who I'm going to in single entry today just because the salary didn't match. But he'd be my second highest owned in MME.
What's your official take, Keith, as far as Cobb? He's not sneaking up on anybody. He's 20%. Had an interesting conversation, by the way. We were just sort of talking about the idea in, Discord. They pitch against each other, and I'm curious to get your thoughts, Keith. And Cobb's at 20%. He's facing Brandon Williamson. Brandon Williamson was kind of a disaster in the minors, and I'm not really sure why they called him up. I guess out of necessity because they had a bunch of injuries, Lodolo and Green. I'm sure there's somebody else I'm missing. But, he has a tough ballpark to pitch in, and he's been, okay. And now he's got a great ballpark to pitch in, and San Fran's kind of terrible. 2% Williamson versus 20% Cobb. Williamson beats him once every 10 times, if you want to do the math that way. I assume you feel better, just raw points, ownership, not a thing about Cobb, but I'm curious your thoughts when it comes to those pitchers in San Fran today.
Yeah, I prefer Brandon Williamson. It's a huge ownership discount, like you mentioned. He has also become a slightly different pitcher over the last month or so. He has been using his cutter a lot more, which has come with excellent results. Just pulling up some stuff here, but Williamson in the minors, he had to have just been working on something. He was a solid prospect coming up. He was a big part of the trade with Seattle. I believe is the Suarez trade, and Suarez and Winker to Seattle. Williamson came back as a main piece of that deal. So he was formerly a big prospect. His numbers in AAA this year were a disaster, like you mentioned. But I feel like he was just concentrating on one thing that was affecting his results or something similar to that. He's been pretty good here recently. The cutter is really what has helped him take a step forward. I'm just pulling it up. He's been 30% plus cutter usage, and it's 35% to 40% cutter usage. His last 4 starts dating back to that start against Miami. And the strikeouts have followed with that. He's had at least 6 strikeouts in each of his last 5 starts. So this is not the same Brandon Williamson that we were stacking against every time he took the mound early in the season.
I see Jose in chat asking about pitcher umpires. There are no extremes today. No extreme pitcher umpires, no extreme hitter umpires. Keith, I'll just say this. I'll add on, and you tell me what you think of this. If, say, you were sitting there with Cobb, and your bats did really, really well, but not like elite well. You're not sitting in first place. I think it's an interesting pivot, like a late pivot to go from Cobb to Williamson. And I'm curious if you're ahead. Say you have the number 1 team and it's sitting there with Williamson. Would you then consider pivoting to Cobb, who's theoretically safer? Or do you just genuinely believe Williamson's going to outscore him raw points? You understand what I'm asking, right?
I understand what you're asking. I would take Williamson straight up raw points.
Wow, that's a bold proclamation. What's your thoughts on that, TJ?
I would probably go about it the same way that you would. If I'm up top, go with Cobb. If I need to make up some ground, maybe go with Williamson. I do love Williamson in tournaments though for that salary and that ownership. Nobody projected to get to him today. I just a massive park upgrade for him. I like Williamson quite a bit.
Yeah, for what it's worth, the difference in our projection, median projection, 13 fantasy points for Williamson at 6.5, and they're essentially the same price too. So it's not, you don't really have to worry about salary so much, assuming you have a couple $100 to play around with. And then Cobb's at 16. So the difference in projections, not a ton, right? Cobb's fine, but he's not elite. Good ground ball guy, good ballpark. There's some Ks being offered in that Cincinnati lineup, but especially if BABIP goes the wrong way on him, certainly it can turn. And I like that call. It's a bold move there, Keith. What are your thoughts as far as the expensive pitchers? TJ's not going to play him. It doesn't sound like you are either, but we have to at least acknowledge the existence of some really good pitchers that I guess we're kind of somewhat ignoring. Burns and Steele, both around 10K in Chicago, 6.5 total. Awesome pitching environment. Kershaw, his issue probably more than anything is the pitch count. By the way, Arizona lineup just dropped. Marte, Kennedy, Pham, Walker, Gurriel, Longoria, Carroll. They're burying Carroll left on left. Ahmed and Moreno. Your general thought, or if you had to pick one guy amongst the top elite prices here, Keith, who's your favorite?
I mean, the reason you're correct, I'm not playing any of these guys, and it's because I can poke holes in all of them. Kershaw is just, they're not going to push Kershaw. They want to make sure he's healthy for the playoffs. I can't pay 10-2 for 80 pitches from Clayton Kershaw, especially against in a matchup with a really heavy contact Arizona team. George Kirby obviously in the best spot. If I'm picking one of these guys to have the best game, it's George Kirby. He gets Oakland, who's it's a fantastic matchup. They strike out a ton, solid ballpark there in Seattle, but 40% ownership. I definitely want to be under that. Corbin Burns, just not the same pitcher that we've seen recently when he was winning Cy Youngs and things like that. His K rate used to be over 30%. It's down around 25%. I know he's been a little bit better here recently. There is some strikeout in that Cubs lineup, but I feel like I'm paying 10-6 for I can save $4,000 down to the 6K range and get a very similar type of performance. I just don't see Burns going out there and striking out 10 to 12 in this spot. And that's what he would need to do today for me to want to play him. Pablo Lopez gets a really high contact Cleveland team as well. He's the most expensive of the bunch. Justin Steele he's a better real life pitcher than he is a DFS pitcher. Not a huge strikeout guy. He's down around league average with his strikeouts. I feel like I can get that same type of performance in this 6K range. So I am fading everyone above Morton as well.
By the way, I mentioned the Discord channel earlier. The people, if you're not aware, almost all of our Discord channels, they're open, they're free. There are still some that are premium, but just as long as you have an RG account, you can join the conversation in pretty much any of them. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. There's an MLB specific Discord room. There's an NFL one. They're talking a lot of preseason NFL. There's also a college football, in case you missed it. The college football channel, the Discord channel that is free for all users. Join us for all the latest news and hard-to-find updates leading up to lock and throughout the week as our college football experts and the community members join together to break down and discuss everything as the news hits. That's RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Get into the action over there. Yeah, if you're playing college football, I know like one of the conferences we're talking about, like they're going to actually have like actives and inactives 2 hours beforehand. It's the Big 12 and the Big 10, but you get a lot of weird surprises with college football. And a lot of a lot of the information is easy to find or even given. So it's very helpful if you're amongst other people trying to figure out what's going on, like who the fifth wide receiver for a certain team is, who's going to be sat down and unexpectedly. Every once in a while it drops on Twitter. You got to find this stuff, but yeah, join the Discord channel over there. All right. Let's see. By the way, in chat, they're talking about this cheapie. We kind of mentioned some of the cheapies. TJ, I assume he's in your 10. I'm curious where you have him, like power ranks in your 10. Zach Thompson. I know Dave Cheese was writing about him earlier today. He's probably going to talk about him a bit later, but your thoughts as far as Thompson?
Not only is he ranked highly in my 10, he's in my single entry today. I have Zach Thompson, Cole Reagan's pairing. He's just so wildly cheap. So I'm getting some Thompson today. We got 80 likes already, so we got enough for the first Spidey Bomb, and we're only 20 away from the second one. And we got over 300 people watching, so 150 before the crunch time crew gets here. Should be nice and easy to get a third Spidey Bomb in. The first one today, I am going to go with Ha-Seong Kim. You can get him for plus 1025 on Bet365, plus 800 on DraftKings today. I do like Zach Thompson, and he's in my single entry lineup, but it would not surprise me whatsoever if Kim dings a home run against the lefty. And if I can get him for plus 1,000, sign me up.
Yeah, so he was one of the Dean's Dongs yesterday. We did go 1 for 3. We kept the streak alive, so we're going to fire off at least one more on the show. We'll drop they kind of come to me. Usually they come to me right after the show for some reason. I don't know why. That's where I feel fully enlightened, and that's why I start making my lineups. But we'll drop it in the chat if nothing else. But TJ, I had Kim as one of my homer picks, right? And the dude drops out a bunt. Like he's on probation for at least a week for me. I know he's been great this year. He's the one non-gutless Padre, but I can't pick you as my dong of the day if you want to bunt. Like, come on, that's it. You're on probation. Get in the corner. I can't do it.
You think that's bad? I was one time Tatis 2+ bases earlier this year, for like away from a huge parlay. Like I think it was like 12K or something like that.
Yeah.
And he had his last at bat, needed one more base, guy on first and second with no outs, and he bunted. Fernando Tatis.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, he didn't even get the single. It was like I have my DFS teams. At least get me a single. He couldn't leg it out.
No.
Like the third baseman was playing back. It wasn't a perfect bunt. Is it Korea or is it Japan? Like the All-Star game, they have the bunting contest. You ever watch that? It's kind of fascinating. You ever see his footage before, Keith? You know what I'm talking about?
I know the Cubs minor leagues used to do a bunting competition. I haven't seen the overseas one, but that sounds like high entertainment.
Yeah, no, I mean I think you're being sarcastic, but it actually kind of is. It's pretty fascinating. I mean, I've watched like 5 minutes of it, to be fair. I don't know when at 5 minutes and 1 second, it's like, oh, this is definitely run over time. It's ran its course. But I was into it for 5 minutes and then I tapped out.
Only 5 likes away from the second Spidey Bomb, so I need 5 more people to hit that like button right now, and let's let it free. Going back to the well with the pick that let me down yesterday, but the odds are just too good considering the guys in Coors Field. Orlando Arcia plus 750 to hit a home run over on Caesars today. He's Spidey Bomb number 2. By
the way, Peter in chat shouting out Dave. Yeah, I love that Dave Cheeseisgood getting in on the gutless theme. He even mentioned the Padres were gutless in the musings today. So shout out to Cheeses. I'm gonna guess, I don't know, but maybe Cheese rostered the Padres as one of his live final teams, and like they just didn't treat him well, and he's a little bitter. I'm not sure, or maybe he's just finally caught on. Kirkwood, he's gonna be in the show. I imagine he'll mention the gutless Padres. Brian wants to know, Keith, Seth Lugo specifically on FanDuel. What do you think of Seth Lugo on FanDuel tonight?
I don't love the FanDuel price at 9,600. I do have some interest. I believe he's a little cheaper on 7,900 on DraftKings. I can get on board with that. Paying almost 10K for Seth Lugo against the Cardinals, probably not something I'm interested in. But I do think he's an above average pitcher. His transition to the rotation has been very successful by all accounts. St. Louis has been a team that's disappointed. around a league average strikeout rate though for 9,600. I don't think I can do it on FanDuel. I am interested on DK though.
All right, we just got the Mariners. That's Crawford, J-Rod, Suarez, Hernandez, Big Dumper, Colorado, France, Moore, Canzone, and Caballero. That is your Mariners today. Mariners pretty popular. Around a 5-team total, facing one of the weaker arms and Waldichuk of one of the weakest bullpens, if not the weakest bullpen in all of baseball. We're still waiting in the Giants, still waiting in the Dodgers, still waiting in the Athletics. And not on the slate, but the Angels have not put out a lineup yet because they don't know who's left to play. Everybody's been DFA'd, as far as I can tell. I'm not sure they got to find 9 guys. Maybe Tony Danza or Danny Glover is out there someplace they could throw him on a roster, but I don't know. No, Danny Glover was the manager, wasn't he?
Was that an Angels in the Outfield reference?
I'm pretty sure Danny Glover was like the manager. He wasn't even playing. Jonathan Silverman was the pitcher. There you go, the single guy. Yeah, I don't know why I went there, but that's my brain went there. It's not going to end as well.
For sure.
Why is there no lineup of the Angels? It's not on this slate, but I guess they're still figuring
because
out.
they just released half their team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Eric's asking about thoughts on Lopez and paying up on DK. I mean, you just said you're just not doing it. Like, you certainly can. I'm not going to say you can't do it, but I'm not likely to do it. And I assume that's where you're at, TJ. It's not like the worst idea.
Yeah, I'm not playing those guys at all. Like I mentioned, Morton would be the most expensive player in my pool. In my single entry today, Reagans is my most expensive pitcher. So no, I'm not going to get up to Lopez. I'm not going to get up to Burns. No Steele, no Kirby, no Kershaw. None of these guys for me.
Shout out to TJ Moose-Manzada in the chat. Talking about the dongs, Dean, even a blind squirrel can find it. And if you can't read it, there's actually an image of a squirrel in case you couldn't piece together that it says squirrel. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while, but Dean usually just opens up a can of suck all over the slate.
Calling you a blind squirrel isn't actually that big of an insult because Squirrel is the best DFS player in the world. And so even a blind squirrel is better than most of us.
His comment made me laugh. I don't know. All right. I mean, look, if that's what the bar is, right, we got to be able to top that. And we've been doing it, I think. If the bar is just eating a can of suck, we're going to do our best to do that.
You want to top that, Dean, and with some slander? I can top it for you since I heard you were talking some smack about me on yesterday.
What? I would never.
People reached out into my DMs to tell me that you were besmirching me, belittling me, slandering my good name. And
you have moles?
Here's what I'll say. I think we need to run the tape back because I'm fairly certain that you're not actually at 6 in a row. Because the day that you claimed Adam Duvall as a Dean's Dong, he wasn't actually the Dean's Dong. You went, I like Adam Duvall. I like Justin Turner. I really like these Red Sox today. I guess I'll go with Justin Turner. And then Duvall hit the home run and you tweeted about it.
Run back the tape because, you're not, I've said it before. I'm typing him in chat also. When I give my official, there's official in the chat, I'll say, here are my 3 guys. So it's possible I'm about to circle back to Duvall. I'm not sure.
Fair. You must have circled back because we were on the show together, and that's why I remembered that. But then I tuned out and started building my own lineups for crunch time. So it might have happened in chat.
I mean, I've been doing this for 10 years. I think I built up a certain amount of credibility, despite the, only somebody doing this for 10 years can open up a can of suck, like on call, right? I wouldn't put all that just for like a 6-game streak of dogs, but it's fun though. Do the investigation. Bring out John Stossel. Let's see what you can uncover for sure. I am curious to see if anything comes of it, but I don't believe. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'll take the. All right. What else do we have to say here as far as pitching, Keith? Who have we not said that's currently in your pool amongst 20 pitchers?
Let's see here. Talked about Thompson, talked about Reagans. Jose Quintana, I think, is a conversation we probably need to have just because he's down here in this range. I'm not excited to click the button. The matchup against Texas is obviously not ideal. Texas has fallen off a little bit here recently. Quintana has actually been solid this season. I'm excited to play some of these 6K guys like Brandon Williamson, Cole Reagans, even Zach Thompson I can get on board with being excited about. I'm definitely not excited to click Jose Quintana, but he is in the pool.
Yeah, 2.2% homer in the fly ball is what I keep pointing to. And I know obviously he's protected by that to some degree in that ballpark. But like eventually, like the regression monster has to come visiting. I think, is it just one homer he's given up the entire season? Does that sound right? Yeah, 41 innings, and if it's 2.2% homer to fly ball, it's probably maybe it's 2 home runs. It's not a lot, is the point. I guess 0.22 point per 9, so it's probably 2 homers. Yeah, in Texas, like you said, the absence of Young certainly hurts them. Somebody was asking me in the Discord. I thought Texas is kind of sort of sneaky. I'm not going to fully stack them. The ballpark certainly stinks, but I think guys like Semien and Garcia, like left on left, Seager is just like going to get no ownership. I understand why he's not going to get paid because, left on left, terrible ballpark, and you want to get to the Braves and other teams well ahead, but he's going to be like 1 or 2% and basically only in Texas stacks. And then even the catcher, Garver, I think is a pretty good, especially on DK where you're forced to roster a catcher. I think one of these guys on Texas gets him, but, salary wise, and also he's getting like 10%. Like that's seems kind of weird to me, Keith. Maybe I'm off on this one.
I think that people are trying to pay up for Braves as much as they can, and that's part of the reason there. I don't think if the Braves weren't in Coors, I don't think he would be getting 10% in this spot.
Yeah, Alex in chat says that just expensive Braves gets us talking about Jose Quintana. Yeah, that's basically what it is. TJ, you have a thought as far as Gavin Williams? Good talent. Facing Minnesota. Minnesota will offer some Ks. There's some power there as well. He's interesting. I'm not really looking to pick on him is one thing. I know I've seen some people like Minnesota. I've seen like some optimizers spitting out guys like Julien and Kepler, pretty cheap, make stuff work. I don't really think I want to pick on Gavin Williams. I'm not sure where I'm at settling in this game, but I think I'm more likely to play Gavin than Twins. But I'm pretty sure I'm mostly ignoring both of it, like most of it this game.
Yeah, I'm mostly ignoring both sides that entire game, really. I really like Gavin Williams. I really like the matchup. I just don't like that price. It's a little bit too much for me for Gavin Williams. Maybe he could have a ceiling game and go for 30, but it's a big slate. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm sticking with the cheaper guys instead.
You got a thought there as far as Gavin Williams? Keith, anything new or basically the same?
So he's one that's kind of on the borderline. He's not in the pool right now, but I am considering adding him. Just like this is a phenomenal strikeout matchup. Minnesota strikes out at one of the highest rates in baseball, and Gavin Williams does have these double-digit spike games every once in a while. He did it against Toronto, and he did it against Tampa Bay. He's much better strikeout rate-wise to righties, so I'm just looking to see how many lefties. Yeah, Minnesota's pretty left-handed. 3, 4, 5 lefties in that lineup. That's part of the reason that I'm not completely on him, but I am intrigued. Like, I don't think 10 strikeouts would be all that surprising in this matchup.
Yeah, his Ks dipped down to 22% versus lefties, and the ISO's a little bit too high there at 209, the WOBA 358. But also, you look at the rest of it as far as the strikeouts. Julien leading off at 30% Ks, Blanco 27, Correa 26. Wallner, he's got some power, but he'll strike out plenty. Same deal with Gallo and even Taylor. It feels like a spot where like maybe get a little bit over on both sides. It's not hard to do on some of these guys. I don't think I'm going to get there because I don't make enough lineups, but I absolutely see the argument for Gavin Williams. Yeah, shout out to Royce Lewis for his third grand slam is it in a row, like 3 consecutive games, or I know it was back-to-back games for Royce Lewis, that was the ding dong we dropped in chat. I took a screenshot for you, TJ, in case you need it. If your investigation, I'm happy to pay it forward to you. By the way, yeah, is something weird about my lighting they're saying in chat? It's got really dark in this room. I think it's because it's about to pour outside. We'll fire off the ding dong in a second. I know Brad's asking in chat. We're gonna give 3, no more than 3. We'll probably put a couple into the chat as we're segueing to the Crunch Time show. Crunch Time, of course, comes in at 6:15-ish. You got Roth back. No precipitation issues, right? Let me just give a refresh. Last I saw, really nothing to be concerned with. Yeah, green, yellow in Baltimore, straight yellow in Boston. Boston, one of the more pop-up places for hitting tonight. We'll see what Roth has to say about that. You get Dave Potts coming back as well. And you also have Kirkwood, Kirkdiese, and his Juggalo bombs. I don't know how many likes he needs for that, but Where are we at as far as Spidey bumps? You fired off 2 so far. Is that correct, TJ?
Correct, and we are 37 likes away from our next one.
All right, and Keith, can we get anything out of you in regards to homers? I don't know. I know you're not a fan of the Fleisters. We never trumped that. We never gotten better than Fleisters.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take this guy before you can use him again, since he's so controversial. JP France has pretty wide reverse splits, and Adam Duvall has been smashing right-handed pitching. So I'm taking the controversial Adam Duvall for a home run today.
Oh man, I love that call. I was gonna pick it in the expert survey, and I'm like, no, it's too chalky. Like, you can't do it. We're supposed to pick like an off the board homer, but I love that. I love when you can get like the right on right, especially the reverse split righty, especially in Fenway. Like, all that lines up.
Yep.
On Fanduel, he's an awesome play. Just probably a cash game play on Fanduel. I've not built a cash game lineup, but he looks so good. I've not been a France guy just in general. I know was the last start we got his face like fully punched in, just absolutely annihilated. I think it was against Boston, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's just the same team. It's the rematch. But, obviously he's not that terrible. But was 11 runs he gave up? 10. He gave up 10 runs, versus Boston in 2 1/3. Paul wants to know if I'm a whiskey drinker. No, not especially. Am I red? Is that what's going on? We gotta fix the camera.
Yeah, you're a little blurry, and you're very, very red.
Okay, we'll try to figure it out here. What's that?
Borderline purple.
Okay.
You kind of look like when on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when they have the kind of chocolate and then they turn all purple and and then blow up. That's kind of that's the vibe it's giving right now.
All right. That's you're not going to believe it, but that's the angle I was going for sure.
That's what I wanted. Yeah.
shout out Veruca Salt. Someone mentioned Veruca Salt in chat. I knew what they were talking about, so I think I don't know if you pieced that together as well. But all right. Anything else as far as pitchers that we should mention, should acknowledge? By the way, you ever go down the rabbit hole of Charlie the Chocolate Factory? This is probably a TJ question and not a Keith question. You mentioned Charlie the Chocolate Factory. You know the movie Snowpiercer? Are you aware of Snowpiercer?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it's about.
Well, I don't want to give anything away, but basically how those are in the same world. It's like 2 people in the chat will know what I'm talking about. It's it's worth it. Go down the YouTube rabbit hole of that. It's really, really fascinating. But
there is a remake right there that I could not have less interest in watching.
Probably in the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, a Wonka remake.
They're doing it again, like for the 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, make sure that's a panel you're going to miss, I suppose. You're not interested in that panel when you go to these Comic Cons.
No, I have no interest in going to see the Wonka movie.
Yeah.
I don't get the Timothée Chalamet hype. I don't see it. I don't understand it. He's boring to me.
The ladies like him. That's my understanding, right?
I mean, sure, if he's a handsome guy, great. But the acting, I just don't see it. In Dune, he bored me.
I'll tell you what it is. It's a fun name to say. It just sounds like, right?
Yeah.
It just sounds like a fun name to say. I think that's part of it. I don't know. And I watched 5 minutes of Dune and I tapped out. I just I can't. That's not my world, so I can't say. I know people love that movie, but it did not do it for me.
Two very highly critically acclaimed movies that most people love, and I don't get it personally. It's Dune and it's the Lord of the Rings movie. Lord of the Rings movie. It's just not for me.
Did we just become best friends, TJ?
Not I get that they're objectively good, just not for me. I find them boring.
I lost a bet and I was forced to watch the first Lord of the Rings, and it was like 3 of the most miserable hours of my life. Did not enjoy it. And they made 2 more. Oh, they had the audacity to make 9 hours of this. But we shall move on. Keith, give me the summary as far as pitchers.
Yeah, so I mean, up at the top, it starts with George Kirby. Fantastic matchup for him. He's certainly in your cash game lineups, I think. For me, I'm going to be underweight in tournaments just because of the price tag. I really want to focus on spending my salary on bats today. If you're looking for a pivot off of Kirby, I think Burns is a decent option there. But for the most part, I'm going way underweight on all of these guys, 10K and above. Charlie Morton is interesting in Coors. Double-digit strikeouts each of his last two times out. Concerned about the curveball usage there in Coors, but Colorado is a really bad offense. Dean Kramer in the mid-range, I think, is fine with a great matchup against the White Sox, but it's really the cheap stuff that we're really excited about. Cole Reagans is a guy that jumps off the page, changing his pitch mix, increase in velocity since going over to Kansas City. Alex Cobb with a great matchup against a Cincinnati team that has been striking out a ton. And then Brandon Williamson as a pivot in that range has really been relying on his cutter recently. Strikeouts have ticked up because of that. Pitching in a great ballpark in San Francisco. San Francisco strikes out a ton as well, so great matchup for him. And then a couple of dart throws on Zach Thompson. Tough matchup against San Diego, and Jose Quintana, tough matchup against Texas.
We've angered the chat, by the way, TJ, just so you know. They're really turning on us for our Lord of the Rings takes. Shannon saying, wow, not liking the best
in there too.
Well, it's a conflicting take, I suppose. Shannon's calling it the best trilogy of all time. Alex is reminding us that there's a bunch of Hobbit movies too, apparently, that's spun off that series. Best trilogy of all time, by the way, I think it's Back to the Future. I mean, come on. You got to represent Gray Sports Almanac, right? Sure. How's this look next to my red face? Can you see it?
It doesn't even show up. Like, just parts of it do behind the green screen. Now you're gone entirely. I think critically acclaimed wise, it probably is Lord of the Rings. All three of them are among like the highest rated movies ever.
Let's see. Mr. Gerg says The Hangover, best trilogy of all time. House Party. Shout out to House Party. Pajama Jammy Jam. All right.
Look, I think you got to put a few attempts in. What's the word I'm looking for? Chips. Put some chips in for Guardians of the Galaxy as best trilogy of all time. That trilogy is incredible. Cheese will agree with me.
I saw the first two. They were fine. I wouldn't say they're the best trilogy ever, but I'm glad you enjoyed it. Oh, you know what? How is it a trilogy? Is the Christian Bale Batman? Is that considered a trilogy? Because that's got to be.
It is, but I mean, people are very divided on the first and third one, and so I think that's kind of where it has.
People are wrong, TJ. That's the thing. All right. Are we in agreement that the Nolan Batmans are good? Come on, you're on board with that, right?
Yeah, Dark Knight, I still think remains as maybe the greatest superhero movie ever.
Just wait for Equalizer 3. Yeah, there you go. Maybe. You never know. That's coming out soon as well, Denzel. TJ, what do you have as far as pictures? What do you want to add as far as the summary when it comes to arms?
I'm definitely looking to go cheap today at pitcher as often as I can. Cole Reagans, borderline lock button for me. The guys that I'm really trying to prioritize alongside of him, Cobb, Williamson, Zach Thompson, and Dean Kramer. The other guys I'd be considering today if I was running more lineups, Charlie Morton, Brian Bayo, Andrew Heaney, Jose Quintana, and maybe some Ken Waldichuk because he's very cheap, but kind of leading into stacks. Seattle would probably be my highest or second highest owned stack behind Atlanta today. So even though I would take some Waldichuk shots, I would have a lot more Seattle.
All right, going to talk stacks in just a second. We're going to give our favorite stacks on the board. I'll tell you guys the consensus amongst the four of us did the rankings earlier today. Spoiler alert, Atlanta is the number one stack on the board. I know everybody is shocked for sure. Before we talk about that, I do want to mention Stat Hero. Stat Hero is a unique fantasy sports platform. You already know it. You love it. It allows users to compete against the house instead of players in a contest. They're searing 20 contests for MLB Pick'em. That is still going on. It's a free-to-play contest. Win to start your streak. Keep it alive. Keep playing each and every day. You build your streak. Win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RG Premium, and the cash prize. $20,000 first prize with a searing 20. Use promo code GRINDERS. That's GRINDERS. Grinders. You get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero. All right. So, and by the way, start loading up your questions in chat too, by all means. We're here for 15 plus minutes till we yield to crunch time. If you're debating between a couple pitchers, you're debating between some hitters, some stacks, whatever we haven't covered, we're happy to answer. If it's a 2v2, but do give us the details. Let us know. You're playing in cash games, tournaments? Is it on DK, on Fanduel? Is it single entry? Is it a large field contest? All that kind of stuff is helpful to do so. Also, while you're asking that question, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications, do all the things that help us keep the proverbial lights on, even though my lights aren't really on. We are at 120. That's not enough. We need 30 more for the first Spidey Bomb and also the first Dean Dong. We're going to get the three of those before lock. We'll put a couple in chat as crunch time is going on. All right, top 5 stacks on the board. There are 24 teams playing baseball tonight. We have 5 dominant teams, I guess 4 dominant teams. Atlanta number 1, break. Then Boston, Houston, Seattle, Baltimore, Dodgers, then Texas, a little bit of love, KC, a little bit of love, Minnesota. This is myself, Squirrel Patrol, Kirkwood, and Dave Potts. This is our collective consensus rankings. TJ, your thoughts as far as these rankings? Atlanta is number 1, then Boston, Houston, Seattle, Baltimore, Dodgers, Texas, KC, Minnesota. What's too high? What's too low? What are we kicking off? What are we putting on the board?
I kind of have it today as Atlanta 1, big gap, Seattle 2, big gap. Like those are my 1A and 1B that I absolutely love today. Then my tier 3, I think, is like Baltimore, Boston, Houston, Toronto, I think would be my next tier.
Your thoughts here, Keith, when it comes to today's stacks?
Yeah, no surprise, Atlanta won by a wide margin. I too have Seattle in the second spot. Love this matchup against Waldichuk. We know that Oakland bullpen is terrible as well. Then I've got the Boston Houston game. Both of those teams very appealing. And then I think Baltimore would be 5, Dodgers next.
You know, I'm reading Eric's questions. Thoughts on the Dodgers, Mookie playing for the MVP? Like, I don't think he's playing. He's just playing because he wants to, like, you know, win games. And, like, if it so happens that he gets the MVP, I did see, were either one of you guys following this? Because not that long ago, Acuna was, like, the clear-cut #1 MVP in the NL when it comes to the sports books. And it was super obvious. But Betts has been absolutely smashing. And I believe he's the favorite now, or it's like 1 and 1A. It's pretty close. But
looks like Acuna is still favored, but Betts is right around even money.
Yeah, he's closed the gap, basically. Yep. And it wasn't that long ago that Acuna, it's like, oh, yeah, of course it's going to be Acuna. He's going to have like a 40-80 season, like the best team in baseball. Is he still on pace for 40-80? He's close to it, I think, which is just – have we seen 40-80?
He's going to get it to 30-60 tonight, and I don't even think we've seen 30-60 before.
That's a good question. Have we ever seen 30-60? I bet Alex in chat knows, or we can figure it out really quickly.
There hasn't been many 40-40, right? There's only a handful.
Canseco and Bonds, I think those are the only 2.
Yeah. So I think 30-60 is. I don't think it's ever been done.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Ricky ever got 30 homers. So Henderson, but I think he has the record for leadoff homers, if I'm not mistaken. But he was never really a home run guy. He might have like 15 or 20 in a season. But okay. Yeah, but okay, your thoughts on the Dodgers in general. It's not because you think Betts he's going to try harder because he's got revenge against Boston, or try harder because he wants an MVP, but just because he's really, really good at baseball, I imagine.
Yeah, correct. I mean, they're an elite offense. We have to find somebody who can put up enough runs to outscore the Braves. That's basically the thinking there. Merrill Kelly is a well above average starting pitcher, but the Dodgers are an elite offense. So like, I'm looking for massive upside amongst my bats. If I'm not playing Atlanta, like that's the sole reason behind it. So like, just get those expensive guys. Mookie does what Acuna did last night, and we're cooking.
Yeah, our boy Butto Jenkins asking if I'm okay. Yeah, I don't know why I'm super red. It's just an optical illusion. I promise you, I'm really pale. I don't go outside. It's scary out there. So I don't know what's going on. It's because it's kind of dark in my room. Maybe I didn't put enough light on. Maybe we'll adjust it in a second. I was trying to figure it out on the fly. But all right. Yeah, did you have a thought there as far as the Dodgers? TJ, I imagine you're probably not getting there in your one lineup, but like you're not going to besmirch.
Not getting there in my one lineup, no, but not going to besmirch either. The Dodgers are always in play regardless of the night.
Boss Bro saying this will be a first ever for 30-60. Yeah, that seems to be likely. Oh, Ricky had a 28-87 season. Oh, he almost got there. There you go. Richie Smalls did a quick little Google for us. But, yeah. What do we think of these prices, by the way, as far as – like, what's the price where you don't roster Acuna, Keith? If he was 8K, would you find a way to get him in your lineup?
I mean, if he's going to put up 50 DraftKings points, I certainly think you need to. I wouldn't expect that again, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a fair price for this spot for him.
Remember when Steve said he was going to go 1 for 4 yesterday?
Whoops.
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Yeah, what he had a homer and at least one stolen bases, maybe two stolen bases last night.
4 for 5.
Did he get 6? I think they might have got a 6th at bat. I don't. They came close to getting a 6th at bat, which is just beautiful when you get that 6th AB in Coors. Clay's talking about a Seattle Cubs stack. TJ. I mean, look, no, it's well. I'm just not playing anybody in that Cubs game. I just trust that the ballpark's rough, and I know it's not been the best season this year. Certainly by his standards there for Burns, but I'm not necessarily picking at him either. But how do you feel about a Seattle Cubby stack?
No interest in getting to Cubs with that wind blowing in against a good pitcher. I love Seattle. They're my second favorite stack on the board. Maybe even favorite ownership considering, but not getting to any Cubs tonight. Even if I was running 150, I wouldn't get to any Cubs tonight.
By the way, we got the Dodgers. It's Betts, Freeman, Smith, Muncy, Peralta, Hayward, Outman. So that's what 4 lefties in a row. Muncy, Peralta, Hayward, Outman, Taylor, Rosario. Oakland's lineup is Noda, Geloff, Brown, Rooker, Kemp, Diaz, Butler, Langoliers, and Allen. Is that every lineup, or are we still waiting for San Fran? Yeah, I guess we're waiting for San Francisco still as far as the lineups. Did you have a thought there, Keith? Are you just ignoring the offense in Wrigley? That's what I'm doing. Maybe if you're making, a billion lineups, I suppose you can open it up, but just I hate the win there.
Yeah, and 2 really good pitchers on the mound as well. So you've got the wind, you've got great pitchers. I don't see any reason to play a bat in that game.
I think we touched on it. I'm kind of afraid, Keith, of amongst these elite, teams as far as the tiers. I'm curious what your team is that you're most afraid of not having enough of. Atlanta, Boston, Houston, Seattle. We'll include Baltimore, but for me, it's Houston. I just respect Bayo. It's that's if I have to cut one team from that grouping, Atlanta, Boston. Picking on France. He's a righty who reverse splits guy against the monster. There's some righty power there for Boston. I just feel much better about Boston than Houston. Atlanta speaks for itself. Seattle against Waldichuk. Baltimore, especially the lefties there for Baltimore. I know that this pitcher for the White Sox has been kind of reverse splitsy, but I do like Baltimore a good bit, 5.5 total. My least favorite team, and I'm not saying you can't play them, is Houston. I'm kind of afraid of not having enough of them. What's your official take on Houston? And if not Houston, what team is it that you have where you just don't have enough, whatever reason you're concerned that they could ruin your night quickly?
Yeah, Houston is the team, and it's just because of the way they set up against Bayo. Extreme splits. He's been borderline elite against right-handed hitters. This Houston lineup is pretty right-handed heavy. Obviously, the 2 big lefties you're worried about, Alvarez and Tucker, but they're both really expensive. So to get that stack, it's not quite Braves pricing, but it's at least Dodgers pricing that you have to go to get the Houston stack, or at least the pieces of the Houston stack that you want. So I'm not finding myself on Houston a ton either. I love Alvarez and Tucker as one-offs, but as far as a full stack, I'm not that enthused about it, and that's because I respect what Bayo has done against righties.
Michael Brantley being back, it's nice to see. We haven't seen him all season. I want to say this is his debut. I'm sure Will Chief's a big fan of Brantley, but he gets singles, right? It's not going to homer. There's your mush play today, by the way. There's your Brantley homer if you want it. Just no power in that bat. Good professional hitter, that kind of thing. But just not a fun roster for me. You have an official you take there, TJ, or just kind of your answer to that question, that we get in the survey on occasion. The team that you're most afraid of not having enough of, that's just going to beat you.
So I don't think it's specifically a team as for me as much as it is the expensive pitchers. If these low price guys, nobody gets better than 15, and Lopez and Steele and Kirby all go for 30 today, well, then it'd be a full on blank $0 one across the board for me. I'm not really afraid of getting not enough of any of these stacks. But to me, it'd be the expensive pitchers. If they absolutely go off and the cheap guys don't do much, it will not be a profitable day for me at all. 12 likes away from the next Spidey bomb. Let's get it in there before the crunch time crew shows up.
I'm doing a sacrifice here for the sake of all the comments in chat. I just have to ramp up my lighting a little bit more. Now I'm just kind of blinded by my light, but I think I've turn a little bit more realistic shade of white than I actually am. Buddy Kennedy or Ernie Clement from Eric. Wow, that is a rough question.
Ernie
I think
Clement.
I think it's Clement, like, with no confidence, right? But I just, yeah. Now Brian wants to know why I'm so pale. You can't win, I suppose. Kennedy also feels like a pinch hit risk to me. Once he's going to take his at bats versus Kershaw and probably leaves. So I don't like his chances of getting there. Start building the all mush team. You got Kennedy and you got Bradley as well. What's up with your Blue Jays, TJ? They're just like every single day somebody else. Bichette back on the IL now. It's kind of rough. Gore has not been spectacular. I know this Davis Schneider, 2 last names, has been good, but I see he's kind of an overachiever, kind of out of nowhere. Danny Jansen's batting cleanup, which says a lot about the rest of the players. But they're cheap. And that's the nicest thing we could say, right?
Yeah, they're nice and cheap, and like I love Jansen in the cleanup spot. It makes him one of my favorite catcher plays of the night.
All right, Brian's got a question for Keith. Let's see, Minnesota Baltimore stack on Fanduel, GPP. How do you feel about that pairing? I think both those teams are in play to some degree. I prefer Baltimore, but if you're going to pair them together, sure, have a good time with it. Your thoughts there, Keith, when it comes to Baltimore and Minnesota?
Yeah, I like Baltimore better for sure, but Minnesota is really cheap, and I don't mind these cheap lefties. So if you're going with like Julian, who fills a weak second base position, Kepler is really cheap in the outfield. I like them as a value stack. I don't think they have like slate winning potential as a full like 5-man stack on DraftKings, but if you're using 3 or 4 of them on FanDuel, I'm totally fine with using that.
TJ, Duvall or Teoscar as a one-off? You got Duvall or Teoscar as a one-off?
Teoscar.
I think Keith disagrees.
I think Keith agrees.
Teoscar or who?
Duvall.
Oh man, those are like my 2 favorite hitters on the entire slate.
Keith's home run pick on the morning grind last night was Teoscar Hernandez, so that's why I'm willing to put it up against Duvall that he might go with Teoscar too.
It's really, really close. Yeah, I don't even give me Duvall just because I said it. I totally did 90 TJ. Sorry.
You got to feel it in your plums pick. Anybody feeling anything in their plums that something's going to happen tonight? You're asking about the plums in chat.
Everything I'm feeling in my plums is about episode 3 of Ahsoka tonight.
Oh, that was a different direction. I was anticipating something else, but all right. Can you one up that, Keith, or we can just let that settle there?
I can do a little better than that. Give me Brandon Williamson 8 strikeouts.
I like that. I like that as a bold call. Let me ask you this, Keith. You're making a bunch of lineups, right? You're getting some Braves. Let's talk about iterations of this lineup. Is there somebody obviously salary is a thing, ownership's a thing. Are you going out of your way to make sure you get like more Matt Olson, like positionally? And they're going to go position by position in a second as far as, prioritizing and, who's going to be more popular than whatever. But is there somebody on Atlanta that you're going to try to get more than the field of? Like this is an Olson night. It's a Sean Murphy night, however you want to, attack it. Or it's just like you're just getting a pile of iterations of whatever falls.
Yeah, so Michael Harris is back down in the 9-hole. He's been up in the 2-hole. He is still fully priced. He's priced just as high as guys like Riley and Ozuna. Michael Harris, I think, is going to be an overlooked piece of this Brave stack, and Olsen is the other guy. It was a Ronald Acuna night last night. He's the one that smashed, and you absolutely needed. I feel like it's Olsen that goes 2 home runs tonight.
And Harris being on the road as opposed to home, being on the road and in Colorado, like he's going to get 4 at bats, and there's a chance, a pretty decent chance he gets 5, which it's not something you can count on, but getting 5 at bats out of the 9-hole hitter, then it's almost like it doesn't matter where he's hitting, right? Assuming that's kind of where it ends, or it ends at Acuna, the 6 at bat or something like that. You can't assume that's going to happen, Keith, but it's certainly in play with a 7.5 total at Colorado.
Yeah, and I mean, just the thing that we love about the reach around is when he hits on base, he's got all the firepower behind him to drive him in as well. So he can steal a base as well. So just stolen bases, run scoring. He doesn't necessarily need to hit 2 home runs to be useful. He can get there in a lot of different ways.
Tony's talking about Justin Turner home run. Yeah, that kind of speaks to the reverse splits that we were kind of outlining before for JP France. So, yeah, Boston certainly is an interesting team. I don't, scores and odds wise, tell me if I'm wrong here, Keith, or TJ as well. I feel like Boston should be like a slightly bigger favorite. Bayo, I think, is distinctly better than France. And I think this Boston team lines up better versus France than this Houston team lines up versus Bayo. Not to go all scores and odds on you with a sides or totals play, but Boston should be a bigger favorite than -120. Is that a good call? You on board or no?
I think you have a slight JP France bias.
I do.
I disagree pretty heavily. I think Houston's just a significantly better team than Boston is right now, so I think they should be favored.
Oh, all right. Well, I mean, yeah, because their pitching staff's better, but I just think Bayo is better than.
Their lineup's a lot better too, though. I think the difference between the Houston lineup and Boston lineup favors Houston more than the difference between Bayo and France favors Boston.
Have you not seen Trevor Story's contract? Does that not matter?
Right. From LOC, stack the Stros, fellas. I love that call. I might have to add a few Astro stacks now. They've got the official
you're
team.
Over 150 likes though, so it's time for Spidey Bomb number 3. We got over 500 people watching, so realistically we should be up over 200 already. But Spidey Bomb number 3, going to Seattle, plus 460 on FanDuel. Great odds for him, going to Eugenio Suarez.
All right. Gonna unleash one of the dongs before we put the others into the chat. I'm trying to remember who I wrote up. I know it was one of the guys I picked on. I'm gonna Keith, which one did I pick for Baltimore? It was either Santander. I think we took Santander is gonna go yard. I hate that left field for Santander in Baltimore in general, but that's who we're taking. I don't know what the current odds are for what it's worth. Aaron wants to know if Longoria hits Kershaw well, maybe. But also Longoria kind of stinks now. I'm mushing everybody at this point. But would you? I mean, I don't think you're a big BVP guy, Keith. But let's say Longoria has good BVP against Kershaw. Do you care?
No, I mean he's had a very long career, and he is not the hitter that he was 5 years ago. Even definitely not the hitter he was 8 to 10 years ago. This isn't the same Evan Longoria. The BVP does not matter in this instance to me.
Also, for what it's worth, I did a quick search here. 11 for 37, 1 home run, 13 strikeouts. He's not even good against them. So, according to Boss Bro, Muncie's got a BVP. I did not see that. Did not check that out. But, yeah, should be a fun slate for sure. TJ, Michael's got a question for you. Let's see about cores. Are we more at risk for a defensive replacement for anyone? Yeah, we were talking about this last night, and it did kind of play out where they kept Pilar out there. I think for defensive purposes, I think in part because they were ahead. If Atlanta's behind, I think they're more likely than not to pinch it. But Pilar, of course, not starting because there's not a lefty starting. I have not really thought much about defensive replacements. I guess it's possible we can get Rosario taken out if a lefty comes in. But I don't think Colorado's bullpen is all that left-handed. There's not many in there. Long story short, I don't know if you thought about pinch hits for the Braves, because I haven't.
I'm not worried about it at all. I'm just playing a lot of Braves and not thinking twice about it.
Yeah,
same.
Keith. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at as well. What is now I'm curious. What is the Muncie BVP? Because let's see, 32 at bats, 13 homers. He's batting over 400, which is twice his batting average at least. Isn't Muncie still in the hundreds this year? I believe he is. He's got 1 homer, just 1 homer, but 3 doubles, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts against Merrill Kelly. We didn't even acknowledge Merrill Kelly's existence. He's a pretty decent pitcher. He's pretty competent, but the Dodgers are basically going to be fully ignored. By the way, did I officially give the dong? I don't think I did. So let's go Santander, and we'll put 2 more into the chat as we yield to crunch time. Coming in momentarily, TJ, Flying Armbar wants to know your favorite shortstop specifically on FanDuel.
Let me pull that up here. I had DraftKings up for me right now. My favorite shortstop on FanDuel. I feel like it's probably going to be the Spidey Bomb, Orlando Arcia, but I'm going to have to check prices.
I'll just say Gunnar Henderson shortstop is 3.4K looks really, really good for me. And you said Kim. Wasn't Kim your Spidey Bomb?
Yeah, I think I'd probably rather play Kim at second, but I love Kim. I really like the Gunnar Henderson call as well, but Orlando RC at 3.3 is probably my favorite.
Harrison Bader, Carlos Carrasco, Mike Clevenger also all waived today, and like 9 Angels were waived too.
Bader's still currently in the Yankees lineup, so I don't know what they're doing there.
I don't know, but that's as of 8 minutes ago per Ken Rosenthal was a pretty solid source. He says Bader was waived. Somebody's got to tap him on the shoulder and throw a red tag in his locker because I don't know what's going on there. Keith wants to know. BJ wants to know the best hitter tonight. Who's the best hitter tonight?
Same as every night, Ronald Acuna.
Yeah, I mean, pretty hard to get away from that one.
Yeah. All things considered, best hitter tonight. When you're considering ownership, step on that ledge a little bit.
I'm going to stick with Adam Duvall. I love this spot for him. Quite a bit of a discount from the elite tier. Great park there in Fenway. Give me Duvall.
I got one I'll just throw out there. You said Pete Alonso?
Yeah.
That's who I was going to say. You said what is the deal? Speaking of reports, like yesterday there was a report that the Mets are likely to trade him in the offseason. Like strange timing in that report. Just seems odd. And the Mets fan base, they will revolt. They will not be happy. They like the polar bear. So I don't know. Just sort of an odd thing to kind of drop the other day. We do have crunch time. We have the return of Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, the return of Dave Potts. Got to get some anecdotes on his travels out there. Both live finals, DK and Fanduel, and Kirkwood's back as well. Kirkwood, I hope you're feeling better. Roth, welcome back. San Fran, is that where we went to? Because I surmised, according to your weather report, you were talking about going to a baseball game. Did you do that?
I didn't. I bet the weather was so nice that I didn't even want to get in the car to go anywhere. I just wanted to stay outside with highs in the mid 60s for eternity. It was incredible.
Well, welcome back to the show. You can regale the people with all your travels. Nothing weather-wise today, right? As far as unless something's changed, we're good to go. We're clean, I think.
In that early game, which I guess we don't care about, the Detroit game, I think there's a decent shot of a delay there. And then in Boston, there's a low chance of a delay late, but really not too worried about it.
Welcome back, Dave. I'm sorry you didn't win $1 million again. I'm sure you had a good time, though. It sounded like it in the musings. And also, shout out to you for finally joining the dark side when it comes to recognizing the Padres are indeed gutless.
Yeah, I've been told, and it's hard to disagree when you look at it. I somehow managed to get sick again, so I'm gonna start coughing at you again. But other than that, things were great.
Sorry to hear that.
A lot of good ice cream going on around the country.
Do you have a report that you want to give the people? Anything new? Any new flavors you've discovered?
No, there was just this little place in the Live Casino in Philadelphia, which, by the way, was a cool venue. If you haven't been to Philly in the last few years, like all 4 sports stadiums are in the same basically parking lot, and there's a casino hotel there now too. It's a pretty ideal place for a live final, or just hang out if there's 2 sports going on. But there is a little ice cream / bakery / candy shop in the casino. The ice cream was great, but they had these little things called dark chocolate almond disc. It was like this round, thick, kind of hard fudge dark chocolate with almonds and some sea salt, I think, in it. Unbelievable. I had too many of those, and I feel great about it.
Kirkwood, you feeling all right?
Yeah, I'm recovering. Got bad news for you, Dave. I hope this doesn't hit you, but I've been outran COVID all the way until last week.
I feel like if this isn't COVID, it kind of feels like the bronchitis coming back, honestly, from this summer. So,
well, I got it. Then I passed it to my wife and my baby. So that was a hell of a weekend that we just went through. Yeah, it was a tough little time, but we're back. Little Paxlovid. I think that's what they call the drug they gave me. And then we're good to go now.
TJ, Keith, anything else before we step aside and make way for the FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time?
Nope, that is good for me. Let's get out of here.
Will you be hanging out in chat and giving more Spidey bombs? Will we hit the right thresholds?
I will not. That's the reason I'm only playing one lineup today is I got a busy evening. I got to get out of here.
All right. For TJ, for Kate,
Hey, wait, Dean, before you go. You only gave us one Dean's Dong, right? We need more Dean's Dongs. That's what the people want, man.
I'm going to drop them in chat. I mentioned before we're going to drop them in chat. That they will be making an appearance. Maybe producer Steve will throw them up on the big screen to let people let them aware. I teased them. I teased the dongs.
Is it true? Can you confirm? Do the dongs in fact come to you? Do they just come to you? Is that what happens?
I just want to get everybody up to speed. That TJ uncovered a couple of shady things that Dean's been doing with the dongs. So you may have missed that, Roth. But there's a whole new process that we have to go through.
Scandalous allegations.
Thank you for your due diligence, TJ. Thank you for catching that. He's been getting along with things like this for far too long. So it's good.
Just like when gambling and money is involved, we can't really just allow people to just say things. We got to make sure that it's fully by the book. So hopefully Dean can get this all cleaned up. Have his people talk to the proper people, and come away from this unscathed.
I will be properly reprimanded. I'll pull my my Walter White and say, "You got me." All right, take it away, Roth.
Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time, the show sponsored by Fanduel. Kind of what we do on this show, we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz, and there you see them on either side of me right now. We got my guy Dave Potts, aka Cheeseisgood, back from 2 live final events. First off, hello, welcome. Second, which one was more fun, and did it have to do with like how you did in them?
No, I mean, in most ways, San Diego is a more exciting destination than Philadelphia, even with some sort of semi-hurricane, which was basically like a light rain shower. No, they were both great, honestly. I don't have any strong lean.
Okay, well, we're happy to have you back, no doubt about that. We got NFL cranking up soon. I'm sure you're pumped about that as well. And we got my guy Kirkwood in the house. Sorry to hear about your weekend, baby. Yeah. When the whole family's sick and nobody steps in, it's brutal.
This was the first time the baby's ever been sick, and it was the first time we all got COVID, and it was just, I tell you, when the baby's going off, there's no more a helpless feeling, especially when you're just dead sick too.
Right. And you're looking around like, who's going to help this baby? And they're like, oh wait,
yeah,
like,
can you please do it? Can you?
Yeah, I've been there, man. I'm sorry to hear that. But we're thrilled to have you here, and we gotta talk about this slate. You feel good about it?
Yeah, I got my boy Cole Reagans ready to take some Braves chalk with another chalk pitcher, but it's a pretty interesting slate. There's a lot. It's kind of similar to last night, so that's going to make like recency bias like crazy for today for how everyone plays this slate. But I'll be interested to hear how Dave wants to attack it.
Okay, well, we did just get some news in here on the Angels. Hunter Renfroe and Grichuk are still in the Angels lineup.
That's the early game, so we don't actually care. But
okay.
But yes.
Okay. Can you explain to me why the hell you would just release a bunch of dudes instead of just keeping them for the end of the year and trading them in the offseason?
I was going to explain that because I've seen people saying things in Discord. No one has been cut from any team. Placing someone on waivers is no relation to cutting them. All those guys still play for those teams.
Oh.
If a team claims someone off waivers, they have the option to trade them. Basically, nothing has happened.
Oh. Well, that really made it sound like they just cut all these dudes.
Yeah, that's what I saw in Discord. Somebody was like, they cut all – nobody has been cut.
Okay. Oh, that makes me feel a little better because I was confused. Like, you got like a month left in the season. Just hold on to these dudes and then trade them. But, okay, that makes a little more sense. Hey, let's dive into the content. We've kind of been beating around the bush here, catching up and talking, but we got to give the people some winners. And we like to start with an overall outlook or, geez, you can just dive into the pitchers. Whichever way you want to do it. Keep in mind, this show is sponsored by FanDuel. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get 200 bonus bets, plus $100 off NFL Sunday ticket. If you're in Kentucky, congrats on getting sports betting, by the way. You get a special offer. Get $100 in free bets for launch day. Terms and conditions do apply. Cheese, how about this slate?
Okay, so basically, massive wild chalk on the Braves with Cole Reagans on FanDuel and the Braves with Cole Reagans and some other cheap pitcher on DK. Like, it's so easy to build the obvious lineup that everyone's going to build. We'll talk about ways to be different, but that is very good chalk. So
okay,
there you
okay.
go.
Well, let's go into pitching then, and we'll discuss the good chalk and then how we try to get a little different as well.
Yeah, on FanDuel, personally, I will tell you that I have 100% Cole Reagans. I didn't do a ton of lineups today. If I had like 50 plus, I would have played a couple expensive pitchers. I feel like Pablo Lopez is overpriced for not a great strikeout matchup. George Kirby and Justin Steele would be the two I would be perfectly happy to play if I had money. And you have plenty of money if you don't want to play Acuna, Olsen, and Riley. There are plenty of ways to just play Kirby or Steele, or even like Burns and Pablo Lopez are perfectly viable.
And might I interject that I believe Steele here, that's at Chicago, got winds blowing in from like left center at about 15 miles per hour. So that is probably worth noting.
So that's him versus Corbin Burns. And that's like the only reason Corbin Burns is on my board at all is because it's good weather there. You can absolutely play both of those guys, and Kirby will be the chalk among expensive pitchers. And he is my favorite slightly just because it's Oakland. But again, I'm just playing cheap pitching. Like I would play Cole Reagans if he were 10K on FanDuel personally. Yeah. So I have lineups with him and just salary sitting around. I will say it's only like a month that this guy has been amazing. We don't know this for sure. He could absolutely just have been fluky and go back to, just being some random dude. I don't care if that's what happens, then I don't win tonight. So, oh well. Yeah. I think there are plenty of other cheap pitchers as well that I think are a little more interesting on DraftKings, but you can do it on FanDuel. Alex Cobb, Dean Kramer, Brandon Williamson. Some people are playing Quintana. Like all these guys are fine if you don't want to eat Cole Reagans chalk.
Okay. On DK?
On DK, sadly, I only have 91% Reagans. So 9% of my lineups suck. I feel terrible about them. I'm going to go most of my lineups. It's pretty easy if you're not full stacking the Braves to get one of the expensive pitchers, which for me is Kirby 1, Steele 2. I played a little bit of Pablo Lopez just because you have the salary. But I'm also fine going down to Jose Barrios at 88. But again, like the mega chalk build is Reagans plus a second cheap pitcher, of which I would rank them Cobb, Kramer. I'm playing Zach Thompson. That's one of those I don't feel like I should recommend him. I'm just telling you that I'm playing him.
He's in my single entry too, but you could probably guess the reason why. Yeah,
he's been very legitimately good, as has Brandon Williamson recently. Like those guys are totally fine to play. I don't have any Quintana or Heaney. I think it's fine if you want to, but I do not want to. That's my whole pool. Essentially, Reagans with either Kirby or Steele in most lineups, and or Cobb or something else cheap. Zach Thompson, again, I'm playing. But you can filter all these different guys in and out, and I don't think you do anything wrong, the cheap guys.
What about any interest in my boy Charlie Morton? Travis says in the chat. I think he's at Colorado, right? Which is never great, but also they kind of suck. He's kind of good.
Yeah, I have 0. I don't think it's horrendous. It's just there's so many pitchers tonight. Like, I won't be stunned. I mean, he has double-digit strikeouts in back-to-back games. I won't be stunned if he pitches very well again. I just didn't need him, so I have 0.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Kirkwood, let's get your thoughts on this slate in general. I guess Reagans is your boy as well.
Yeah. So the thing, and one thing that stuck out that Dave just said is that, he said he may go back to, I forgot how you turned it actually, because I'm brain dead right now. But anyways, I think there's a better chance of him getting injured than not being for real, because this kid throws 101 miles per hour. He averages 98 miles per hour his last start. He's got like 5 good solid pitches. He's got a slider, a changeup, a curve, and a cutter with his ridiculous heat. So this is real. I'm confident in saying that. Now, whether he ends up being awesome is a different story for, going forward, or if he gets injured or whatnot. But he's 6K and his numbers look like the old Garrett Cole, like how he used to be, or, and over his last 5 starts. And it's only one cupcake matchup in there against Oakland. The rest were all last 4 starts besides Oakland was all pretty tough matchups. So I'm on board. Like Dave said, I think fading him is tough. I mean, obviously anyone can have a bad night, but it's Pittsburgh too. So this is about as safe as of a matchup as you can get. And so one of the top safety matchups. So I think you just got to embrace it and just play the mispricing hard, because no one has the kind of ceiling he has to for the pivots when you're saving money. Now we do have some good top end stuff. Like Dave said, I think Kirby is probably my favorite. Then with Justin Steele, I threw away Burns. I get it at 10.6, but it's just I can't justify paying him, even though I like him in that game with the weather. And I'm not going to be playing Pablo Lopez either, who's 10.8. And we got Kershaw. We have a ton of ways to go, but we have so many good that range right under the high price with Kirby, and Steele is really good, strong. And then we have a strong lower tier. We didn't even mention Dean Kramer for 7.7 against the White Sox. So Haney, who has strikeout upside in any matchup, also has the ability to absolutely get blown up and shelled, but he's only 7.2. And I'm on board with Morton. I was trying to make him work. He didn't make my single entry, but I was trying to get him there because I think he's a really strong play. Because I don't think people are going to want to play him in Coors. Last time he pitched in Coors was last season, and he did have 8 strikeouts over there in a pretty solid game. So I think he's the type of veteran that can utilizes his pitch mix well over there. So I wouldn't be shy.
PVB from Kirk, pitcher versus ballpark.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Okay. Any other names you want to throw out, or you feel that about covers it?
I'm playing that Zach Thompson. The numbers look strong, but I have to go by my gutless rankings, and San Diego Padres are still number 1 on the gutless rankings. And Zach Thompson is facing them, and he's 5.6, and he's had 5 Ks in each of his last 2 starts. That's good enough for me.
Okay, fair enough. Let's talk about some of the bats and the stacks, because I feel like if everybody's playing Reagans and everybody's going cheap at SP2, then everyone has all the money in the world, and everybody's going to end up on the same bats. So, Kirkwood, tell me, how is that not going to happen, and how are we going to win a GPP if that does happen?
All right. I am hoping that the one bat that is going to differentiate me tonight is going to be the catcher, Sean Murphy, batting 7th and very expensive. And, people are going to jam the 1 through 4 for Atlanta, but I think the one bat that they're going to make a pass on is going to be Sean Murphy because he's just too expensive for a catcher at 5.9K. Plus he's batting down 7th in the order, and it's impossible to get all these guys. And I don't think that Zach Thompson is going to be very popular, and he's what allows me to get him. Yeah. Because the low pairing that everyone's going to be using is going to be Alex Cobb and Reagans together, and you still can't really get Murphy in that build. So that's the key for me, like that one bat differentiator. But I mean, I'm still eating a lot of chalk.
Yeah. Okay. Any other teams that you're interested in? Let's say you were doing 20 lineups, other spots where you're trying to pivot to?
For sure. I love Baltimore in this spot against the White Sox, against Schultens, who should be a pitcher that they should absolutely be able to handle, and they should be able to crush this bullpen, which has been terrible. So Baltimore's right there. I have interest in Boston, although, man, it really rubbed me the wrong way yesterday when them leaving out Bear Claw they left this relief pitcher out to just get absolutely clobbered, and they never had anyone warming up or anything. It was like Cora was like sending a message to the ownership. Yeah, it was painful. Like he gave up 10 runs, and they didn't have anyone warming up in there. It was ridiculous. And he was hitting batters, walking batters, giving up bombs, and they just let him.
Oh man, yeah. That's tough.
So a little worried about Boston where they're at, but Seattle is starting to look strong, and kind of my off the board, although I'm not sure how off the board it is. I think that the Royals are a pretty good stack in this spot against the Pirates here today.
Okay. Very good. All right. Well, let's kick it over to Cheese here. And I guess I'll ask you the same question. Everybody's going cheap here. Is that SP2 enough of a differentiator for you, or are you trying to get different with bats as well?
A little bit of both. I'm doing a few more Atlanta mini stacks or just one-offs. I don't feel like I have to have them everywhere. And something I talked about in the article is like in the smaller field tournaments where their ownership is going to go through the roof. That's where I'm getting off and playing different things and just knowing that most likely I get outscored, which means I don't win. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. Similar group of teams after the Braves. I mean, it's a far drop off from Atlanta. But I'm going Houston first, Boston, Seattle. Sneaky wise. I like Texas. And even the Dodgers are sneaky, which is kind of remarkable because they're facing a good pitcher, but it's still the Dodgers. And then I like the Twins as the cheap team.
Okay. Excellent. Cheese, can I get your take on gelato? As you are an ice cream aficionado, is gelato just ice cream? Is it better? Is it worse? Where do you stand?
Gelato has a pretty wide range of outcomes. And in fact, the one thing I was going to say, the live final in San Diego, there was an ice cream place on premises. Ice cream. It was actually a gelato place, and it was not good gelato. It was just a terrible way. And this was like the fanciest hotel in the world. Except they had a nonsense fake ice cream. Good gelato is fantastic, but it's not all good.
Huh, okay. See, I didn't know this. I didn't know that there was a range. Because ice cream's got a pretty tight range. It's pretty damn good no matter what. I didn't know that gelato was a wider range.
You can mess it up for sure.
Okay. All right. Good to know. With that out of the way, which was the most important question of the day, let's go around the horn. We'll do a little position by position. Of course, we're going to get to your questions as well. If you're hanging out in the RG Discord, that is where I will start taking questions. But go ahead. Get those QQs in. Hit us a little thumbs up. I saw a comment that I want to read real quick. Here we go. Smash that like button. These guys are badass. From John Galicia. I don't know if any of the three of us would consider ourselves to be badass, but
Kirk is for sure.
You see me, Dave, and Roth walk into a room.
You think those guys are badasses? Watch out for them.
You want to be
anyways, I do appreciate that very much. So, this is actually a fantastic question. I'm sorry to get sidetracked, but Top Shot Pick says, any cheesesteaks for Cheese? Cheese, I am a cheesesteak aficionado. I have worked at multiple cheesesteak establishments in my day, chefing up cheesesteaks. So did you try any?
Well, I actually like, you know me, the cheese is not good. I like cheesesteak without the cheese. I like the cheese. I mean, the steak, onion, and pepper, which I did have.
Yeah, you're not a big cheese guy.
Mushrooms?
Gotta add mushrooms.
I don't really like mushrooms on the sandwich, although I wouldn't argue with you.
Yeah. Okay. Boy, we got questions about sorbet. We've got a lot going on. I am intrigued, but we do have to get it back towards the content. Man, that sorbet question. You got a quick answer for me, Cheese?
Come back after lock. We got to do this.
All right. That's fair. Okay. Let's dive into it here and start a little catcher talk, Cheese.
So like Kirk mentioned, Sean Murphy is the guy. And he's super expensive, which means Will Smith and Adley Rutschman are the fantastic pivots. But I kind of like the mid-tier catchers. I love Mitch Garver tonight. Sal Perez interests me. Danny Jansen. All these guys are pretty playable. I don't mind just the full punt to Austin Hedges and hope he walks because he's 2K. But I don't have a ton of Murphy. Just because I'm not full stacking Atlanta everywhere.
Okay. Kirkwood?
Yeah, I just realized I need to get some more Mitch Garver, play around with that because I forgot about him. But Salvi Perez at 4,300 is there. The Yainer Diaz at 4,100 is there as pivots off like that kind of that mid range and stuck in between. Did you mention Danny Jansen?
Yes.
Dave? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So And then Campusano for the gutless Padres at 2,900, batting seventh. He'll probably get some ownership tonight. Alejandro Kirk at 3,200 is kind of the pivot off of Jansen down below. That should be lower owned, batting sixth. Really struggled this year in general, but still has some pop. And then nobody's going to be playing Adley Rutschman unless they have a Baltimore stack. But leading off with monster home run power could be a good play.
Okay, great. By the way, Dean dropping his official Dean's dongs. They've been hot. Dean's dongs are hot. Get them while they're hot. It's your boy Anthony Santander, Justin Turner, and then the big dumper Cal Raleigh is the third one. Those are Dean's official dongs. We're gonna hold him to it. Make sure that those are. I think he's on an incredible streak of at least one Dean's dong hitting, unless I missed it and he was miscounted.
7 years in a row.
But unfortunately, we have to go back and look through all of the events because it turns out he was kind of finagled the guy in there and took credit for one that wasn't actually one, according to TJ. So,
yeah, okay, good job, TJ, with the investigative reporting. Good to know. All right, I think someone's at first. Kirkwood, are you at first? Did we do that already?
Who's at first is really the question.
Who's at first? Thanks, Cheese.
Matt Olson is clear number one play for 6,900. 69, nice, perfect price, right? Garrett Cooper.
Is he really that expensive?
Yeah, he's 6,900. All these Braves are, but that's why we're going low.
That's incredible. Okay.
Yeah. And and he's been taking his fair share of walks, so it's always, if you're paying 6,900 and you watch your man take a walk, it's never very fun.
Yeah.
But Garrett Cooper is only 2,800 and gets the platoon against Thompson for St. Louis, my guy. But I have to say that Garrett Cooper, he brings home. If you want to fade Olsen and just pick some of the best bats to play, Cooper fits just right in. Can save you money, help your overall lineup. So I like that play. Mountcastle has just been raking for a while now. 4,800, he's there. We do have some play. We should get Wilmer Flores at first or third eligible against the lefty. 4K can do that. Justin Turner looks good. I'll let Dave. I don't want to take all his thunder here.
Sure. Cheese, you got a couple more names?
I'll just say on FanDuel, it is reasonable to just build a balanced lineup with a bunch of guys in the 3K to 3,500 range, which would be Mountcastle, like Kirk mentioned. Justin Turner is one of my favorite plays. In Goldschmidt at 37. I love Wilmer Flores tonight. He's cheap-ish. I don't think you have to play Olsen. It's like Kirk said. I mean, if he gets 2 walks and a double and a couple of runs, that's not worth it. So I like going a little lower with Alonso being the kind of pivot in that price range.
Okay, second base, Cheese.
Ozzy Albies, same as every position. The Braves guys on top. Feel free to play some Mookie Betts just to be different. I would rather go cheaper if I'm not getting Albies. I really like the Twins lefties tonight. It's a bummer on DK. You can't play both Polanco and Julian, but you can on FanDuel. Got a little bit of Nolan Gorman. Michael Massey's always just sort of there at a good price. But I don't love anything here. I'll add Trevor Story on FanDuel. I like the Boston righties. I think that's about it.
Okay. Kirkwood, your thoughts a second?
It's Albies, I guess. He's kind of feels like the one I could fade tonight. Julian is down cheap and brings a bunch of pop leading off for Minnesota at 3,500. Thairo Estrada at 4,400 seems like a good play here. You're just home run hunting everywhere you can, or if you're completely punting. Do we have a complete punt, Dave?
You can do.
Clement?
I was gonna say, I would try to get a little more than Ernie Clement. Just he's so nothing. I would play Caballero ahead of him at 2,500. If you need the full punt, it's not. I mean, 25, not quite a full punt, but that's as cheap as I would want to go.
Yeah, I'm with that. But everywhere from there is home run upside. Like Mookie Betts is extremely. He's 6,800 and not in cores, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I'll throw Nolan Gorman's name out there for a home run at 4,200.
Okay, very good. How about third base?
All right, Austin Riley is the guy. 6,300 went hit a dong, barely even hit the ball to opposite field, and it just flew over yesterday. Devers against Ty France is always in play. This is a third base is stacked, so we have a ton of good plays. Gunnar Henderson, 5,400. Then if you want to save a little more money and you're going down hunting home runs, Wilmer Flores would be one. I already mentioned it before. At possible third. I mean, at first, JD Davis is only 3,500 and brings home run upside. So he's kind of the lowest I would go, where I feel pretty strongly I can compete with some of the higher end if things go the right way. Royce Lewis, can't deny what he's been doing as of late. And yeah, I skipped over Machado on purpose.
Gutless.
Exactly.
Gutless. The man is gutless. All right, Cheese, what are you doing at third?
On FanDuel, it's kind of easy to get Riley, and I do like him even if you're not stacking the Braves. I think the guy that's going to be criminally under-owned is Jose Ramirez. I mean, Pablo Lopez is good, but not elite against lefties. So play some Jose Ramirez. I definitely like Gunnar Henderson more at shortstop, but you can play him at either. I mentioned Justin Turner at first. I like him at third on FanDuel as well, quite a bit. Suarez is in play. I like the JD Davis call. If you need a full punt on DK, I've got a couple of Mark Vientos tossed in there. That's about it.
Easy enough. Shortstop, Cheese.
This is the one position where you don't have a total superstar Braves hitter, but you still want/need Arcia in some stacks to make the salary work. I think Gunnar Henderson is my go-to guy on both sites. I do like Trevor Story as well. On DraftKings, David Hamilton is my favorite full punt anywhere on the slate, and one of my highest owned players, which doesn't feel great, but like he's actually a good enough prospect. Like he can steal a bunch of bases, so he's not just a punt for punt's sake. Like there's some talent there.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Dylan Moore, as if we didn't have Hamilton, I would be playing a lot more Dylan Moore, but he's quite a bit more expensive. So I don't love him. And don't forget Bobby Witt. You don't have to be stacking the Royals to play Bobby Witt, though you're welcome to do either.
Okay, Kirkwood, thoughts at short?
Yeah, Bobby Witt's one of the guys that has absolute monster upside tonight that can compete with anybody. So, making him a priority is not a wrong thing on a night when a lot of people are not going to be able to pay for him. Tovar at 4,300 on the other side of the Colorado game. Just been a pretty solid bat all around. Everyone that Cheese said I like as well. I'm going to have to go down to Gabriel Arias. I get David Hamilton, but like he does nothing but steal. Like if he gets on, he'll steal a base, but that's absolutely it. That's his ceiling. Watch him home run tonight, but he has absolutely no power. So I'm a little scared with him, but anyway, you're punting this position just to make an overall better lineup. Anyway,
just to be clear, the dude had 49 steals at AAA in 88 games. Like it's not just.
I know. If he gets on, he's stealing a bag. Just has to get on.
Yeah. Okay. How about the outfield? I did get a question in the outfield, so let me handle that real fast. Jeff says, what about Brantley for Houston? Is he going to get 4 ABs tonight? Kirkwood, you got any Brantley or any interest there?
I don't really have much interest in him unless, first of all, he's old, getting older, and he's coming off of a long injury layoff. So I'll be interested to see how he does, but this is not the matchup. I really, this is probably the Red Sox best pitcher right now, Bayo, and I'll just leave him alone for tonight.
Okay. All right. That's fair. What do you like?
I like a lot of things. I do like 7K. This is like Russell Westbrook of NBA pricing. Back when Durant used to be out injured and Westbrook was like the best play ever. That's Acuna was for $7K. It's just crazy, but if you can get it, you can. I mean, he was worth every penny last night. May not be tonight, but no one has the upside he does in this slate. Ozuna, Harris, these are the other. That's Rosario even. That's all the Atlanta side. But then there's guys like Yordan Alvarez. There's some cheap pop with the platoon and Teoscar Hernandez, who's, the whole Seattle team has been thriving, but I mean, he has absolutely been on fire. He's only 4,300 batting cleanup. I like him on both FanDuel and DraftKings. Nelson Velasquez, I like the Royals today, so he's making my lineup right now for 3K for some pop, because I do think the Royals are going to put up some runs in this spot tonight, and they're cheap, so they're the ones I'm balancing all the others with. But I mean, I can name more, but that's the core.
That'll work. Cheese, give me your core. Some of your favorite plays here, up and down. You're muted.
I thought I was unmuted for that cough, but instead I was muted for the talking. Both work fine. Yeah, Acuna is awesome. And you have a lot of ways to get him. I like Alvarez and Tucker almost as much as far as spend ups. And then there's sort of a group of mid-tier guys who are in the 4 to 4,500 range on DK and the 3 to 35 on FanDuel. Duvall is my favorite. Santander, Springer, and Teoscar. Like those four kind of filtered in a lot of my lineups. And then when you go cheaper, I like the Twins lefties a lot. I like Kepler, Wallner, even a little bit of Gallo. Although that he's so bad, but he can still hit 3 home runs as bad as he is. I like Velasquez as well. I'm going to stop there. We can name a ton of outfielders, but basically it's kind of those 3 pricing tiers.
Okay. Did get a question, as you mentioned, Alvarez and Tucker. Eric Lynn in chat says, are they going to be that highly owned on DK as it's showing here on FanDuel? So we've got FanDuel projections up. He's curious about their ownership over on DK. Is that something you're concerned with?
No, they're not sneaky at all. Like they'll be among the highest non-Braves on the slate. But it's spread out enough that I'm certainly not concerned about it.
Okay, great. Let's dive into the QQs here. We've got 12 or so minutes until lock, if I did the math right. If I didn't, that's embarrassing because it's pretty simple math. So let's dive into it. DK GPP question here from GD. He says, Williamson or Cobb? Cheese, Williamson or Cobb?
Slightly prefer Cobb, but I don't think it's wrong either way.
Okay. FanDuel single entry. Cheese, right back to you. Your favorite pitcher and stack in a FanDuel single entry.
Reagan's, and I'll say something other than Atlanta just to be silly. And I'll say Texas.
Okay, great. Kirkwood, a couple coming your way here. Aside, says FanDuel Cash. By the way, guys, I'm starting taking questions from the RotoGrinders Discord. If I get through all those, I'm going to jump into the YouTube as well, kind of try to do both for you. But make sure you are joining us in the RotoGrinders Discord. It's where all the cool kids are hanging out, all the badasses as well. So let's see. Aside, FanDuel Cash, Kirkwood, Cooper, Riley, Julio, or Olsen, Suarez, Ozuna?
I mean, you had me at the first way. I heard those 3, and I didn't even need to listen to the second.
The second one sounded pretty great too.
Yeah, but I was I had already heard enough,
Yeah. All right. NBA DFS says Kirkwood, any interest in Schneider? I've seen a lot of people talking about Schneider. At FanDuel, he's 2,800 at second.
Yeah. He's been producing well. Yeah. The price is nice and cheap. So yes, he's a good play against Gore.
Okay. Better punt at short. Cheese, Arias from Cleveland, or my boy Caballero, which I think means little pony, but we went through this and we don't really know.
All right, that's our nickname from now on.
That's fantastic. I prefer Caballero.
Okay, or maybe little cowboy. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish. I don't know why I'm trying. Cheese, your favorite pitcher in a FanDuel GPP today?
Little pony sounds good.
Yeah, I said I have 100% Reagan, so that makes him my favorite.
There you go. That is a golf comment. We'll skip over that for now. Achilles says, Kirkwood, if I'm playing cheap pitchers in DK Cash, which Braves would you lead off? Like none of them, right? I mean,
well, I mean, there's only so many you can play. So I think the priority would be Acuna. Also, Riley would be for me. And then the one I would leave off would be Albies out of the main, the top four, if that's what you're asking for cash.
Okay, great. Caballero means cowboy or gentleman, or potentially a distinguished horse riding gentleman. Maybe we
a gentleman cowboy is exactly what we were describing here.
There we go. King Coakley says, QQ, I'm the most handsome man at RG. And he didn't end it with a question mark. That's just a comment.
I mean, that wasn't a question. I mean, that's a statement.
It's a statement, and it's an incorrect one. So you can't just put in incorrect stuff. You might get booted from the YouTube chat.
He's getting a little too big for his britches after that poker win.
The big poker run at the World Series, and now he thinks he's the most handsome guy at RotoGrinders.
He's about to, he's all in his game right now. Football's coming.
Yeah. Come on now. All right, let's see what else we got. Who did Cheese say at short? This is testing your memory. Cheese, who did you say at short before Hamilton?
I sure don't know because I have mostly Hamilton. I mean, Gunnar Henderson's my top play.
Yeah, that's who you said.
Yeah, Henderson and Hamilton are the bulk of my shortstop ownership.
Great. Okay, Cheese, FanDuel single entry. More Riley or Ozzy Suarez?
More Riley.
Okay. North Carolina Big Hurt says, Kirk, FanDuel GPP, Story or Polanco?
I actually like Story today. I think he's going to be hidden down he's batting 7th. I think this is a good spot for him to explode a little here.
Great. Okay. GD says, DK GPP Kirkwood, Rushman and O'Hearn, parentheses 5-man Baltimore stack, or Raleigh and T. Hernandez, parentheses 5-man Seattle stack.
So Seattle stack versus Baltimore stack.
I guess.
I mean, they're both really good. I'll say Seattle.
Okay. All right. That works. For Cheese, more likely to win a DK single entry GPP tonight, Houston or Seattle stack. And then we got Pete Alonso and Reagan / Williamson in either potential lineup.
I like them both. I would lean Houston.
Okay. Excellent. Well done. Cheese, DK Cash, Abreu or Cooper. Who's got the train? Who's got a train near him?
I heard it was someone was out here.
It's definitely not me. It's coming through my.
No, so what it is, there's a water taxi, a boat that comes right outside.
What? You live close enough to?
Yeah, he's in Italy. Right? He's in Italy.
He's in Italy. I mean, I want to live close enough where I can hear a water taxi. Although I guess if I heard it every day, it would annoy me.
Yeah, I'm moving at the end.
But to answer that question, in cash, I would play Cooper over Brady personally.
All right. Can I walk to the water taxi? Can I just walk there and then take a water taxi around where you live?
Yeah, right into the heart of the city.
That's amazing. Can I visit you? Can we do this? Can I sleep on your couch?
Unfortunately, I'm leaving. We have a new place. Oh. We're leaving this because of the baby. We need more space, but
yeah, I feel that.
Okay.
Just don't sell it yet. Let me just crash there for a weekend. That's cool.
Well, I rent, so I don't even own. So
that doesn't work either. All right. Back to the QQs. FanDuel GPP, Kirkwood, Santander and Garver, or Sean Murphy and Hamilton?
The first.
Okay. FanDuel Cash, Kirkwood, back to you. Soto or Santander?
Oh, that's tough. I'm going to say Santander, but I have a complete bias against the Padres. So if Dave wants to take that one, give a double look over my shoulder here. He can.
Santander.
Okay. Good.
Okay. DKGPP, Cheese, favorite 2 Dodgers outfielders not named Mookie Boots?
Outman and I mean we're just taking random guesses after that. I would go Hayward.
Okay, great. Tom says DK Cash, Cheese, Abreu or Cooper. I've seen a few Abreu thoughts on DK Cash. I think maybe he's crazy cheap, but also as I recall, he kind of sucks.
He's crazy cheap for a reason, and especially against a heavy ground ball pitcher. Like I hate Abreu tonight. outside of a full stack. And even in, I mean, I have full Houston stacks. Not one of them has Brayu.
No.
If he does something, it could be he could do something off the bullpen and be part of the scoring if they just score a bunch. But I don't like him at all.
Okay, so then Cooper
is
the answer. Okay, DKGPP Kirkwood single entry. It's a 3v3 for you. Cobb, Rosario, Caballero, or Williamson and Vasquez and Arcia.
The first probably.
Okay, DKGPP is a 2v2 for you, Kirkwood. Alvarez and Dylan Moore, or Elias Diaz and Brenton Doyle.
The first again.
Okay. DK Cash Cheese, Riley or Albies, who is the bigger priority?
I like Riley better.
MT Red Sox says, Cheese, what are your thoughts on D-backs? By the way, you got about 5 minutes to lock here. Thoughts on D-backs in a GPP if the Dodgers are going to baby Kershaw? Going to give him a little baby.
I didn't get to any, because even babying Kershaw is 5 really tough innings, and they've got a pretty good bullpen. So, I mean, anything's viable in baseball, but I officially don't like him personally.
Okay. Mochi says, are we worried about Acuna getting jumped again tonight? What did I
see
miss?
that? Guys ran out of the stands and like bear hugged him. It was nonsense.
And then, but like they were like, looked
people?
like a fan. They looked like a fan at first, and then all of a sudden, one like it looked like they pushed him over. The other, like it looked like they.
It was hard to even tell what was going on. That better not happen again, or else that stadium gets shut down. That's what I say, which I'm rooting for anyway.
Yeah, it's like they got there and they didn't really have a plan. Like they didn't.
I mean, they're
expect to
idiot. They ruined a great opportunity to streak. You know, and they
if you're going to do that,
if you do it, you streak. Like that's what you do, and you slide into home, and then you go to jail, and that's the
rule. Preferably if you do it like in like a funny hat. Like the only thing you can wear is like a funny mask.
The cowboy, the caballero.
That's it. That's the only thing you're allowed to wear if you're gonna do it. You gotta go that way. All right.
But a head first slide into home streaking is unbeatable. I think
so wonderful. Yeah. All right. Let's see. We got a few questions in the YouTube chat. I'm gonna cover some of those. We'll start with Rukin Verde Cheese Large Field DKGPP. First base is a one-off in a Mariner stack. Goldie, parentheses, great BVP. He added that. I'm just letting you know. Goldie, Alonso, or Vladdy Daddy. It's Pete. The answer's Pete.
I like Alonso first. I do like Goldschmidt, but I would go Alonso first.
Okay. Alan S. says Kirkwood, Riley and Moore, or Henderson and Royce Lewis, DK single entry.
Riley and Moore.
Okay. Cheese, we're going to play a little game called Sneaky or Stupid. Adult Slim says, is Jose Quintana sneaky in regards to the ownership around his price? I'm adding the or is it stupid part. He didn't say that, but I will.
Yeah, I don't know if he's sneaky or not. He should be. I don't think there's enough ownership difference to mess with it. I don't have any. I get it. I wouldn't tell you you're stupid, but I would tell you that I don't have any.
Okay. Thoughts on Toronto, Cheese, from Eric Johnson?
Yeah. I mean, I did end up on a couple Torontos. Just Gore is kind of flipping and sliding his way out of relevance a little bit. This lineup is so how it is. I would lean towards, and if you're stacking them, you can just stack the top, which is nice. Like, you don't have to worry about ownership. I do like Springer a good bit, and I like Jansen at catcher. But it's pretty deep MME for me.
Okay. Kirkwood, DK, GPP, single entry, 3v3, Cobb, Rosario, and Caballero, or Williamson, and Vasquez, and Arcia. Have we done this one?
The first.
Okay. Let's see. Garver or Jansen, no stack on DK. Garver or Jansen, just straight up, Kirkwood.
Garver.
Okay. Let's see. Coming up on the lock here, Top Shot Naked HG says, if I do the slide in the cowboy hat, can I join the RotoGrinders team?
I say yes.
You can definitely come on a show.
Yeah, we'll have you on a
show.
show.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried to encourage this since your name is Top Shot Naked HD. I feel like you really got a pretty good chance of following through on this, which is worrisome. I cannot encourage you to do anything illegal without getting fired. So, don't do that. Do it. Beaner says, hey, I've got $3,100 left in the util Cheese. Can you give me a play on a FanDuel GPP? $3,100 left, less than a minute, no pressure.
3,100. I mean, there's a lot of plays there. How about Adam Duvall would be my favorite.
Okay. We have done it. We have hit the lock, ladies and gentlemen. Cheese, sorbet. Is sorbet the same as sherbet? It sure as hell isn't the same as ice cream.
No. So here's the thing. Sorbet, if you don't understand sorbet, basically if you take a popsicle and melt it and put a little cream in it and then mush it back together, like it's just kind of weird. Like it doesn't need to exist. Like sometimes it's fine. Like I don't just hate it, but like I don't understand why it really needs to exist. Like I would just have the popsicle at that point and then have ice cream.
That sounds like
that's actually a pretty solid combo.
Yeah. My wife is obsessed with soft serve, like froyo, like frozen yogurt. And so we go and I eat it. And I'm just the whole time, I'm like, I just wish this was ice cream. It's not as good as ice cream. And that's,
you remember the
trouble.
TCBY phase when like that was the new thing and everywhere, like it exploded all over the country. And like, it was never that good. It was just interesting, you know?
Right.
And
then
I
there
like
was
being able to put all the different toppings on it.
Pinkberry. Yeah.
But yeah, it's not very good.
Yeah, it's
just
fine.
Just have ice cream, and that's where
There's actually,
you want to take a shot on gelato, and if you can get some good gelato, that will be frozen yogurt.
I have one frozen yogurt recommendation if you have
Let's
to
hear
go
it.
that route, if you're cutting calories or whatnot.
Yeah.
Cherry Garcia works pretty well for Ben and Jerry's in frozen yogurt.
Wait, I mean, Cherry Garcia is an ice cream. What do you mean it works as a frozen
Yeah, the
yogurt?
ice cream's better, but it works. It's pretty good. If
it's a thing. They have that.
Yeah, they have
Oh,
it
I didn't
both ways. Yeah.
I didn't even know they did that. Okay, very good. Hey, with that, we are going to bounce on out of here. We have done all the things. We've given you some hitters, some pitchers, some ice cream takes. What more could you want? Some proper technique in streaking. And with that, I feel we are done here. So for Cheese, for Kirkwood, and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.